welcome back to the World Semifinals. Here you can see the World's MVP trophy, which will be awarded next week based on votes from a panel made up of representatives from around the world. And as Fnatic hope to lock their spot in the finals, well, we've got Champion Select right here. Let's get into it. Fnatic hoping for a 3-0 sweep of Cloud9.
Let's see here. Fnatic sticking to the same bans with Zillion, Nocturne, Alistar, C9 again, Akali, Irelia. And they take away the LeBlanc that was first picked in game 1 by Fnatic.
It really does seem like Caps here and Fnatic with the extra hand as far as the Assassins mid lane, giving them a lot in Champion Select. Cloud9 once again will go with this combo though. Early Xin Zhao with the defensive Braum.
But Fnatic just first picked Aatrox, and Victor was not picked by C9 as an answer. Last game when they had the Victor, they put it in the bottom lane. Fnatic can now grab it, and the Aatrox counter pick that we have seen a lot is gone.
Yeah, Cloud9 have had other counter picks to Aatrox as well, you know, like the Hecarim as well, as, you know, basically anything
Jace,
with a lot of
everything.
speed. Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of things here.
But I like this adaptation, though. Cloud9 have locked in Illusion the first phase. Finally, it was consistently banned away in the second ban phase, so now C9 get their ideal bot lane duo. The only ban they've received for this entire role is the Alistar. This is what they wanted to play. It's what led them to a lot of victory in the Afrika 3-0. So now maybe C9 have that bastion of power they really want in the bottom lane.
Definitely agreed that it's a good choice here for them. I like the Lee Sin ban as well. They left it open in the first game, and Broxah took over.
Meanwhile, Fnatic with both solo lanes possibly locked in here. You know, Aatrox can be shifted to the jungle, but likely both solo lanes locked in, whereas Cloud9 still to determine. I expect Cloud9 to save their counter pick for Jensen. Licorice has a deeper champion pool, it feels like, more answers than Jensen has had. As far as the mid lane goes, maybe they want to jump on something early for him, though, because he doesn't have quite as many. You know, the Lissandra is up. That's what they've played over and over here.
Right. Yeah, we obviously assume that most of the focus early game is around the bottom side where you have your Lucian pick. Do we get a tank top lane from Licorice? His Shen and Ornn has been two of the most used ones from him.
So the Poppy has been his best answer into Aatrox as far as tanks go, if you're looking for a tank answer. And that is another one that they could go with. But yeah, there's the Lissandra they want to lock in for Jensen over and over again. And
Zaya comes through for Fnatic, so Reckless on another high damage champion. He was a big force in the previous game. He's going to have a decent chance at it here, and Rek'Sai comes through for Fnatic. I love that new things keep showing up during this final, what could be the final game, I should say, our last semifinal series at least.
Broxah threw out an Elise game earlier in the tournament. Yep. Now he's just going to throw out a Rek'Sai game here. This is a champion that does have early game power. You have burst damage, as well as a single target knockup now, and he can go for more creative jungle ganks. This is one of the ones where you'll see going over walls behind duo lanes or top laners easily.
Okay, and they're gonna go round 2 on the Echo top to face off what they assume to be Victor up there, and that seems very likely. This is going to be an interesting one. In the previous games, Svenskeren had maybe a bit of a fumble, giving a bit too much pressure over to Whippo. Whippo had his way with Licorice. We might also see these champions switch roles as the swaps can go back and forth. I'm going to be interested to see which matchups we actually have player versus player, top versus top, and mid versus mid.
And then also see if it is the Echo versus Victor top, can we get a bit more jungle attention towards the and they keep swapping it around.
We're just
right
going to wait until 20 seconds. Now, of course, Jensen had a famous Echo mishap before. They're going to give it over to Licorice. It's going to be Jensen 3 times in a row on the Lissandra, and it is that Echo and Victor locked in for the top laners. We assume they will go to the top lane, but that is still not a guarantee.
Sure. Recap, though, from game 1 when we had this matchup. Early trades in favor of Licorice. He even used early TP back to lane to continue to pressure against the Victor. However, the first gank that came in from Svenskeren ended up backfiring. He died, gave a kill over to Whippo, and then we also saw Licorice die to a counter gank from Fnatic, and the lane started swinging towards the Victor.
And that was also after Broxah had already ganked mid lane and gotten Fnatic the advantage in mid lane as well. So junglers, a huge amount of weight on their shoulders in influencing the early lane phase for these solo lanes, and which one of these guys can actually take over the game.
It's going to be an exciting one here. Cloud9's backs against the wall. They are no strangers to reverse sweeps here in League of Legends on their road towards Worlds, and even beyond that one. Fnatic, though, coming into the championship as the hope of the West, the European champions. They were the one people had pegged as the dark horse to make the deep run. And they have 3 chances in a row now to make it to the final. The first time Europe has done that since 2011 when they started it all. And Fnatic would be against the team that they had beaten in the group stage in Invictus. So much confidence, maybe you call it cockiness on Reckless and the rest of Fnatic. They think they can win this entire thing. So far, they have been the far better team compared to C9. And we'll see if they can do it here. Cloud9 must make this 3 in a row.
Hylissang jumped over the wall early on. Let's see if they can sneak in behind anyone. Might be Zeyzal sitting in this little brush here.
Yeah, he's waiting on his cooldown right now.
Huge trade.
A lot of anticipation for the Braum Q. It does land, so
yeah,
no points there for accuracy. We do have a defensive Poro, but that is about it. Everybody, after seeing the attempt here, just happy to back off, and should just be normal red starts for both junglers, but we'll see about the pathing as far as which lane they want to influence first, as this could be easily tilted.
Yeah, right now, Fnatic were protecting for the level 1 invade that actually happened also in game 1 when Zeyzal had the Braum and he walked in and forced Broxah away from the red buff. He had to take his own blue on top side, and it gave an early advantage over to C9, but not this time. Rek'Sai gets the best start possible with a giant leash as well from Rex and Hylissang.
And a good start for Licorice here as well, putting damage. Electrocute Triggered as well. Triggered, there we go, that's the word. Proc was in the middle of my brain as well.
Yeah, Whipple gets 3 autos on the way out, though, to almost even up that health trade, I think. And they're right back after trying to push us forward. Minion wave slightly in his favor. Svenskeren actually started the sweeper here. Interesting, trying to take down this Scuttle Ward before he moves over to the top side of the map. And this time around, kind of like we set up in game number 1, the option for Svenskeren to try and split the map here and close off the top side of the map to allow Licorice his solo 1v1 time in this matchup to really try and display the Echo into Victor.
He did go mid here instead of invading on the top side. Will go and grab his own buff on the bottom side here while Licorice gets a good trade against Whippo. Meanwhile, Broxah love to do this like red buff into a camp. Oh, he's ganking.
Walking forward, finds the flash knockup. Jet's able to E away, though losing some health, but not a summoner spell. That was a very aggressive gank out of Broxah and doesn't get a whole lot for it.
Yeah, junglers have traded sides. They both pass through mid. Svenskeren now making another pass there. Jensen can't set him up, though, and Broxah will be able to chase down. Actually, he pulls out of the jungle. Svenskeren coming back and trying to secure his own red side.
Yeah, with the mid lane pushing against Fnatic, invading here would have been pretty greedy. He got the ward down to spot. Sven is still not taking a blue buff. He did Rift Guard on the top side, then did the one on the bottom side. Broxah will secure his own blue here. But first gank with the flash unsuccessful from Fnatic, and the Rek'Sai pick, the big surprise.
The big trade in the mid lane, but Jensen so far has been able to play pretty well against this one, able to trigger Aftershock every time and get away from most of these plays, and so far so good for him. Still has a bunch of corrupting potions stacked as well. The Cap still has his potion for the lane on top of that.
Meanwhile, checking in on the bottom lane here, Lucian Braum, what Cloud9 used against the Freak of Freaks for a lot of bottom lane presence, has been able to push in. But Reckless and Hylissang doing just fine in CS there, actually ahead. And with a couple extra minions here, Sneaky might be able to catch right back up.
Yeah, so far an equal lane down here, not a huge surprise just yet. We're gonna wait to see if the big aggressive plays do come in. A flashless Broxah might give a lot more confidence to the C9 squad. Still waiting for that play. Watch out for the feathers though, can pull them back, and Sneaky is rooted up, and a knock-up, and he just walks into him! He's gonna die to the Ignite, there's no way out! First blood comes through the Hylissang. A huge, massive misplay out of Sneaky.
Saw something kind of similar when he played against Uzi and walked into the feathers right behind them. Reckless with the callback right there, able to just spring the traps, take down Sneaky, and acquire first blood for Fnatic.
See the setup again. 2 feathers behind, 3, and then Sneaky actually, simply just walks in right where the feathers were placed, and quick pullback from Reckless. And this is such a big problem now because this was the big change for you in the draft. We've seen the Echo already, we've seen the Lissandra, but the Lucian pick in the first phase, it was always banned by Fnatic in the second phase. He grabs it this time around, and now he's losing lane early on due to Reckless landing the snare onto him.
And it's a 1,000 gold lead now for Fnatic. That's way more than just the first blood itself. So across the board, a great start here for the EU LCS champions. Back-to-back victories over in Europe. They lived in G2 Shadow for quite a while, but couple of victories here. Hylissang joining the roster this time around, Whippo as well in this year, and it's been a very good run now, winning in their potential last game in the semifinals.
Yeah, this has definitely been the best way to bounce back and become the #1 team in Europe, become the powerhouse again that every European fan always looked towards when it came down to international performances. Fnatic have done everything right in 2018.
Rekkles has talked a lot about it himself in interviews as well, about his own change from previous Fnatic iterations and his confidence in his teammates' playmaking ability. This time around, does feel like they're firing on all cylinders. Cloud9 looking to fire around mid lane, and they've got 3 people grouped up around Caps. Svenskaren's on a ward. They still
get a play.
Off.
They find the root. Keep in mind, Caps has ult. He's going to pop that here. He'll be able to get away after the revive. Health bar will be at about 1/8, but he's still able to slink backwards.
So C9 went behind in the early game. Once again, look towards mid. Svenskeren and Zeyzal were sitting in these brushes for at least 30 seconds, waiting
Caps is
for an
low.
opening. Caps is
Jensen
very low.
flash ult. If they go for the dive, he's in E into flash ult range. Caps could die. He's got teammates. Not going to go for that play. Jensen pulls aggro. Caps only at 300 HP. Has his own flash, of course, keep in mind.
Hylissang is also around. He's sitting with the team now under this turret. Meanwhile, top.
Trade of ults up here. This is Licorice getting quite low. Has to make sure he can respect everything else. Does he ult back for the trade? He could ult back and go for more fights. No, it's already on cooldown. Sorry, take that back. He burned it in a prior fight. So Whippo gets Licorice incredibly low, and Licorice without TP is going to stay low in this lane.
You can always tell if there's no ghost following Echo.
I wasn't paying attention.
He can't go back to it. If you're playing against one of the that champion, then it will be an easy indicator for the...
Next time, say spectator, Buck.
No.
There you go.
No, that's on me. I'm a better player than that normally. I'm just rusty or terrible or something else. Who knows? Either way, 600 gold difference in Cloud9 now looking at the bottom side, but walking through wards while they're doing it. And it's pretty easy for Ruckus to back off and stay safe here.
This is what we expected from the draft with the Illusion Braum. Some attention towards this lane here. See if they could actually push it in, potentially tower dive, or just take the turret. It is still full HP. Obviously, the first kill went over to Rekkles, but we see the control of the bot side now.
Yeah, especially since there's an Infernal Drake on the map. A lot of pressure around bottom side will give you some pretty big rewards here. Svenskeren goes in.
Bit of decent damage, and it's actually going to be minions denied away regardless. Fnatic not going to get this cannon for gold. They will get XP on Rekkles' side, but it is money being lost on the map right now. So this pressure, it's not a kill, but it's several hundred gold lost all the same.
Caps is potentially moving down. There's no TP from Jensen. Will force C9 away. Even Caps just sitting in a brush here, hiding out of vision. He knows he doesn't need to walk all the way down. He just needs to have the chance. And C9 needs to call that he's missing from mid lane, so they have to watch out.
Nice bit of knockups there. Caps gonna land 2 sweet spots, make it almost all 3. The self-ult for Jensen, but his healing is cut in half. Now looking for the re-engage. Caps will take some damage, but walking away pretty cleanly. Flash still up, no danger to him.
And his ult will come up pretty quickly as well. The World Ender is coming off cooldown, but Cloud9 are pushing on all lanes at the moment, trying to keep Fnatic bottled up and force them into more defensive playstyle, which has found a little bit of success here early on, as all the vision control in the river is on Cloud9's side.
C9 basically had all the tools to actually snowball this early game. Good lane setup, early jungler with Gao, top lane.
Licorice is out of mana. He actually can't ult back anyway, so they're going to quickly reveal him. The knockup is almost a formality, and this will be the kill. There is no way out. Broxa knocks down Licorice in the top lane.
Able to find the kill here, and now they can push out the top lane. This is going to completely turn the tides here for Fnatic.
No TP, can't rejoin. It's a really good thing now for the EULCS champions. 900 gold ahead. Winning across the map everywhere. Even bot lane looks pretty solid.
Exactly.
Come through.
And we just said this before, I feel like C9 had the lanes to keep the pressure going in the early game. They even had Broxa blow his flash on the first gank and not get anything for it, with a Xin Zhao jungle on the other side, but then with Sneaky dying in the bottom lane, getting outplayed by the fellas, and now a gank top side from Broxa that gives him a kill. Fnatic have just completely stopped C9 from getting ahead in this game.
Yep, definitely respect to Fnatic, outclassing today, setting themselves up, looking towards IG and how dominating they were in their semi-final.
Yep.
This built a lot of hype as far as the possible final matchup between those two teams.
And it does look Fnatic favor, but it is not out of reach just yet. I do want to keep ourselves on what C9 can do so far in this game. Only 1,000 apart. Infernal Drake can kind of bridge that gap really closely as far as stats are concerned, and this seems to be a pretty free pickup here as well. So I think we are completely within arm's reach here in Game 3. Cloud9, of course, must make a reverse sweep. They must win 3 in a row, and that is the prayer from everyone, all the North American fans here and the C9 players themselves in this series.
We're just kind of waiting for C9 to look for a big play, because they need that. It's not the small wins anymore. Like, bottom side, when you have Illusion versus Azaya, you're going to get outscaled. But in the early game, even now when it is just even in CS and you're down 1 kill, you have enough damage with a jungler coming down, or Lissandra. Another trade top lane.
Yep, nice stun from Whippo. He's going to get damage to Licorice. There's the self-ult backwards, but going to be Whippo kiting away. Nicely done, gets out of that fight. Licorice comes out ahead in HP. But Whippo still has a lot of tools to use.
And the positioning is so important in that 1v1, as you can see. Well, now we've got another one in mid lane.
It's a pretty close fight here, and not quite the sweet spot, but pretty good damage all the same. And Jensen keeps himself out of range.
Yeah, so the positioning there, you can see Whippo moving up. Never mind, we're gonna have another fight.
Yeah, they're battling back and forth. He's staying alive, but now we've got another battle. It's in different spots of the map now, as Sen's gonna go in for the fight. The ult to buy some time. No damage just yet. Brock's getting a bit low. Now the root on the catch. He's got a lot of time to go till he's forced to revive, and that is a great pick up with the flash forward. Now the turnaround, but they're gonna burn him down with the revive, and about 600 HP now on this Aatrox, but they will get the trade kill, and C9 are on the board.
Oh, let's see if Fnatic's bot lane can do anything. Looks like they're too far away for now. Oh, and here we go.
The charm is on, but they're not going to find the knockup just yet. Actually, they get nothing out of this one, and Reckless could be stunned. They're not going to find that, though, and out goes Fnatic. But here is the TP. Here is the trade fight. Looking for the big play is Licorice. The flash of the wall. Hillsong is going to stay safe.
Teleport used to the bottom lane. That means up top side, Whippo is going to get damage on that turret as Cloud9 try and retreat. That will also allow him a full reset and sync up the extra cooldown.
I mean, we said we needed a big play from C9. Not a small win, but they had to go for that.
Blasting over! Zazel Flash puts the shield up. He'll stay alive with Guardian. A lot of summoners burned. I think it's actually a disadvantageous trade as Fnatic burned 3.
Well, let's just look at summoners all across the board right here. Licorice blew his TP, got a flash from Hylissang for it. That was basically it. Jensen, no flash on his side. Zazel, same thing due to the last fight. But, as you highlighted here, Freak, everything gone from Fnatic's bottom lane. Only Whippo sitting with a flash on his side, so there's a lot of openings the next minute or two for more fights to happen and people dying.
And we really want to emphasize that use of the teleport for Cloud9. Trying to put emphasis on the team play there and pull something out of the jungle. Licorice actually lost a lot of CS teleporting away from the lane. As you can see now, Whippo getting off the recall as well, so you get an extra reset for this Victor, and he's already been able to solo burn that Echo ultimate and retake a lot of control of this top lane presence. Now he also has a stopwatch to use for a possible all-in. You really do need to keep those key items in mind when you go for these big plays.
There's so much space in this lane to move out of the stun every single time, so Licorice can't lock him down, but I feel like this game reminds me a lot about the last game with C9 having tools to make plays bot lane, but always moving it mid lane, where Fnatic are able to answer and match the aggression almost every time. But now we're back. This is what I want to see. Get this bot lane turret down, blocks the feathers as well. Svenskeren is constantly hovering around the lane. They need this turret here. They need a win on this bot side to actually get sneaky ahead.
And it's down to 20%. This would be the first time I think Cloud9 would get first turret in this series. They've gotten very few turrets themselves throughout the 2.5 games so far, and it is very low. Still, C9 choking through a 1,300 gold deficit as we have Whippo on a very big lead here. He's got a level up. He's been bullying continually against Licorice, who's forced to ult, but he's still taking damage from the Chaos Storm. Finally getting away from that one, but this is still a huge advantage. Top lane has won every single game for Fnatic's new top laner.
Yeah, Whippo in his rookie year as well. Just dominating up here, playing so aggressively in these matchups. Now Caps is going to join him. He's already solo burned again the Echo ultimate, so Licorice doesn't have that.
Putting the shield up, gonna look for the stun against Caps. Nice little knock up there. It should still be him getting away from the knockback, but look at the damage output. It's forcing the flash out, so Licorice really pushed away. He's gonna lose all of this farm.
So we get a trade right here. C9 got the bot lane turret. Fnatic will take the top lane. Like you guys mentioned, Whippo in his rookie year. Because if you go back 12 months, no one knew about this player.
Yeah.
He was literally sitting in the TCL doing almost nothing. And And then Fnatic out of nowhere signed this player as a substitution. He didn't play most of the spring split. It was all about Soaz, but he got in when Soaz injured his hand in playoffs. And he surprised everyone. Aggressive performance, able to play tanks and carries. Had a very famous interview right after the spring final where he said, I will be the best top laner. People called him out and said, oh, that's a little bit cocky right there. But he's actually shown now, during Worlds, that he is the best in Europe.
Meanwhile, it's a fight out of Broxah, stun and a knock-up, and Zeyzal managed to snag another kill, but now it's bad for Sneaky. He flashed, but the Ignite is still too much, and Caps finds that kill in the 2-1-1. Trades across the map, and now coming down, looking to fight up against Zeyzal and Svenskar, and the shield comes up, but when is the engage coming through? They found the first sweet spot. They're finding the re-engage now as Jensen rejoins the fight, but Sven's running out of health. He's sure to be knocked down. Caps is reviving. He's going to be fine here. Now look for Reckless. He jumps in the air, brings back the feathers. Not a kill just yet, but Jensen's still getting low. He's trying to get away. Finds the root, finds just barely the disengage. He'll stay alive, but it's Fnatic with so much more, summoning the Rift Herald as well.
Yeah, they had just taken Rift Herald, so even chasing off Jensen there, even though they don't get the kill, they can still take this mid turret, get the objective for themselves, and again, a big early game lead for themselves.
2-1 in turrets, and again, look at that gold. 1,600 puts Fnatic ahead. Another charge for Shelly as well. They have been the better team today. They've only dropped 2 games all of Worlds. Very few teams make the finals with that kind of record, but they're looking at it right here. Fnatic has been very good. They're going to grab this Mountain Drake without a problem as well. Push them farther and farther ahead. Edging ever closer to that 3-0 semifinals victory.
Let's see with the map right now. After bot lane turret drop a little bit earlier. Fnatic have moved to the top side instead, and Sneaky trying to do the exact same. He needs more turrets for his team. And that's where, sadly for him, he ends up face checking in.
Yeah, there's no getting out of that one.
Nope.
Ignite goes down, and that is the kill for Caps. As we know, it didn't end there. They try and chase C9, exiting the jungle, and they are able to get the engage when Caps lands the sweet spot on the long-range Q.
Ready, I'm joined by Broxah ahead of his series.
Just the ultimate time by Caps obviously means it's just the 1-0. Good plays out of Reckless, kind of zones them back, and C9 just barely getting away, but now a re-engage. This battle is continuing. Caps without the ult, this time around certain to die, and it will go to Svenskar.
Another little fight. Broxah will end up jumping away.
Let's play there.
One thing that Cloud9 have said all tournament long, they are not afraid to fail. Even if they go for kills, go for ganks, and they do not work out, they will keep fighting. So they're staying true to that here, and they're still looking for the kills. That's what they have to do.
And it is C9 picking up a lot. Echo got a lot of alone time down in the bottom lane, shoving that wave in. Of course, the turret's already gone, but they're still picking up farm and getting their teammates a little bit closer.
Constant invades right here. Caps simply not able to get away due to the CC coming in. Will eventually drop down, but it's been a crazy game where every time we are in a replay, we know the moment the replay is over, another fight happens.
Play continues once again. A big knock from the front line. They can knock him down. An ult from Zeyzal. Ziggy trying to run away. He's ultiless for now.
Or the TP.
And he's going to be going for the re-engage. The teleports come through. Licorice in, and they're going to find Hillsong. Cloud9 look for a second. The ult's on top, and they will get 2 kills. C9, for what feels like the first time all series, have a lead.
Yeah, exactly. They got the top lane turret before, then they move action straight to the mid lane. It was Fnatic engaging onto C9's bottom lane, but they didn't actually get the kill, and double flank suddenly happens. One side is an Echo, the other side is a Lissandra. And C9, they pick up a bunch of kills. They've gotten 3 out of turrets. They have an Infernal Drake.
They've got a lot more confidence now as well, but Whippo still has the level lead. Still the farm lead as well. This Fnatic top laner has been instrumental in Fnatic's victory so far, and now we watch the Acer Predator replay of that mid lane fight.
All right, this one starts out Reckless trying to pull back the feathers, and for this one, as Hillsong goes in, he does get the knockup, but Sneaky kites back on Lucian long enough for the teleport to come in for Cloud9. Licorice, once he walked up, they're able to completely burst down Hillsong and get the 5-member convergence to get the extra kill.
Zeyzal played that fight perfectly. Blocks all the initial damage, then gets the knockup onto all the Fnatic members when Sneaky CC'd. After the knockup is gone, then Sneaky can actually dash away and avoid more damage. Kept him alive and set up a beautiful flank from Cloud9 here. They still have TP in the bot lane. Whippo does not, so he has to move to mid here. Another fight, of course.
Glacial Tomb is up again as well, so C9 again, want to walk forward.
They also have the teleport on Licorice still. He just walked to the last fight.
This is going to be the engage. Here comes Hillesong's going to find a single knock and then kites right back. Licorice is going to look for that TP eventually. He's coming in late though. The re-engage towards Caps. He'll revive. Jensen forced to self-ult to stay alive as Whipple had come through. But now that jump forward, Licorice trying to find it. Feathers fly. He's going to look for that one and not quite getting it picked up just yet. It's a disengage on both sides.
Nobody died right here. A lot of summoners once again on cooldown, so it's hard to go too aggressive knowing you don't have flash yourself.
Also knowing Baron now is on the table. We're just past the 20-minute mark now, so if they do snowball one of those big fights, you'll get a Baron and it will be a very big win. Also, we've got another Infernal Drake that will come up next, so we're gonna keep the action going in this semifinal.
Fits the theme of this game here. Aggression, both sides. Fnatic, we're trying, at least for a moment, to slow down the game after they had the big advantage. But C9 said, you know what, we don't care if we're behind. We'll just keep invading your jungle, keep fighting you everywhere. And they've actually been successful. Sneaky, while he's not picking up kills. He's picking up 3 assists, he's ahead in farm. He does have his Blade of Ruin King completed. No Black Cleaver just yet. Yeah. But once he gets it, the damage here in the mid game is pretty insane.
Yeah, right now, both bot laners just slightly waiting a little bit longer for that second item spike to come through. Right now, probably favors Sneaky. He has most of the attack damage he wants. And now a play goes to top side. Caps does not have the ulti, but he's not going to be knocked up either. C9 could not get their way in. Caps kiting away. Now Licorice gets the shield, but he's still forced to run. Whippo gonna flash in for a bit more. This time around, it's just going to be Licorice getting away, burning his flash to save his ultimate.
Yeah, traded summoner spells right there, traded ultimates as well, but in the end, Licorice left with very little HP, and Whippo wants to force him out.
Re-engage, the potential stun comes through, now the shield is on, and Whippo is without an escape route. But Licorice can't get quite the damage he needs, and Whippo kites away, gets the shield as well, and back over the wall.
Feels so safe with the shield from his Q. A fairly low cooldown, just constantly looking for these traits, and now we get a move from C9. There's no turret behind Whippo.
Oh, they're almost behind him already. Whippo pretty quick.
This is a nice move by Sneaky. There's actually no way out now for Whippo, but can he outplay this fight in the 1v3? And what can his team do on the other side of the map? A big slow comes in as Licorice can feel comfortable, but the stun still buys a lot of time, and there's nowhere to go. He's gonna try to give no assists over. He's certain to fall. When the team finally shows up, and they're gonna make sure the Licorice does get the kill with assist credit going over to the support.
All right, Fnatic, nothing else they can do during that time as well. You can see on the mini-map here, just going for recalls across the board. Whippo very far pushed up, and Cloud9 pull the trap closed.
Licorice, though, low on resources. TP is available for the Victor to come down, but no one else is coming on this side of the map.
And with Infernal spawning in 5 seconds, C9 could just start it straight away. Whippo's there for 15. There's nothing Fnatic can really do without him. Unless they want to risk a 4 versus 5 because they know he can TP it after.
Maybe so. C9 missed a single ward sweeping around the Baron pit. There's that one that Fnatic sees. They know there's no crazy plays coming out here, but now this fight around the bottom river, can they find a trap as Broxa is with the Tremor Sense?
And he's Victor. He's TPing in behind.
This could be the fight, and Licorice already so low. He seems to have overstayed his welcome. An easy shutdown, and now Fnatic, they can bring the trap closed in a 5v4. Here comes the engage. Caps right on front, looking to do with the Shy they just yesterday. A bit of damage now, and the re-engage coming across. The big stun to the front line. Here comes the rest of the squad, as Zazel's already gone. Svenskeren burning. He's gonna drop as well. A double kill for Broxa. He's a madman into the back line. They've already found 3 kills. C9 push off Summoner's Rift.
And that fight is going to be Infernal and a possible Baron for Fnatic. Whippo gets revenge in the biggest way here, teleporting out on Victor, and then cut off Licorice.
All started here in the bottom lane when Licorice was caught by Caps. He was chased down, he eventually dies, and when the fight breaks open, it's just knock-up after knock-up from Fnatic. C9 had every opportunity to just take the Infernal Drake when it spawned, but they looked for more fights. They felt like that was the way to win the game, and it backfired.
And it's going to be Baron as a formality. 24 minutes in, make sure no one's there. Slain and picked up. Fnatic up 2,000 gold, ready for more.
Licorice trying to get the recall off. Cap stops him. As you know, he gets him extremely low with the Ignite on him as well. Knows that it's going to be a kill, and Whippo gets to come in and collect his revenge. Now, since you're talking about the fish show, C9 were looking for more kills. They're all on the enemy side, trapped in the middle. Caps goes in with the ultimate. Whippo gets the gravity pullback here, double stunning and allowing them to just decimate the C19 fight.
Massive stuff here. Sneaky able to flash over the wall to get away, but the only living member of Cloud9 is not enough to stop that Baron or the Drake. And now C9 once again on the back foot here. The gold difference about 2,000. Let's see how much Fnatic can get with this Baron power play.
Every single time we get past 20 minutes, Fnatic, they show us better shot calling than on the side of C9. They find these openings here. C9 do not always punish whenever Fnatic makes a mistake. Let's see if we get another fight though. All 5 members from Fnatic are here. Same thing for C9. Caps is moving behind them on the flank.
Gonna find Zazel. Look at the damage up, but there the shield comes up, Flash still going away. And this could be the re-engage that Whipple might want to find. A nice knockback comes in, but Svenskaren's still gonna be shattered. A big knockup comes through, and Whipple's already found one. It's only been a single trade kill, 2-1 Fnatic. Looking up more, Whipple buys some time. Jensen waiting for his way into this fight. Can they kill Victor? That's gonna be a no. Sneaky is burning down, he's running away. And poor Licorice getting pushed back as well. Fnatic are completely smashing this fight.
It's not done yet either. Fnatic go back in. Caps uses the ultimate. Jensen actually gets out over the Raptor wall, though, and they should be able to scatter.
They've scattered away. It's still the 2-for-1. Kobe, I knew it all along, but they're going for more. The base is about to be broken. That turret's gone already, and as the respawns come through, it will be a brief respite. Fnatic will not take the inhib. They will buy their new items. They will push again. They've got a minute and a half left for this Baron buff.
So much gold now for Fnatic. Get everything you want, look for another big team fight. You get the full flank by Caps, opposed to the early flash from Zazel, and now Whippo is effectively just standing in front of 4 players, setting up another great engage for the rest of the team. Hylissang finds the backline. This Rakan pick has been very, very good for Fnatic today.
Yeah, huge burst there from Fnatic. Then it looks like C9 try to go aggressive here. Whipple on the front line, though, as the Victor, replenishing his shield, putting out the damage, and they're able to splinter the C9 resistance.
So many champions walked away with under 50 hit points. Both Broxa and Sneaky were inches away from losing their life. You had, of course, called that mid-fight as well as Jensen fought Caps. They both able to run away from this one, but we still have our close game. 4,000 gold, though. This lead has grown. The Baron power play knocked down several turrets in the mid lane. In addition to the team fight that they won already. Cloud9 hoping for something aggressive and something in the fog of war.
The Fnatic Death Brush against Fnatic.
Cloud9 still fighting here with all their heart, going the way that they have gone this entire tournament. Still looking for those plays, looking for the kills. And what a run for them it has been. Just like Fnatic, though, gonna put a pretty big damper on that run.
I'm waiting for the last big team fight.
Yeah.
If you are C9, you're obviously down in gold. It is looking very, very rough. You got 3 items on your Lucian. You have 2 items right now completed for Jensen in the mid lane. If they find a great engage where they can get on to someone like Whipper or Reckless, they have enough CC and damage to kill them. The problem is there's so much return fire coming in from Fnatic.
Well, Cloud9 hoping this game goes the way of their season. From 10th place to World Semifinals, from a 4,000 gold deficit to a comeback and a reverse sweep in the semis of Worlds itself. Fnatic, though, a lot of dominance this year, back-to-back EU titles and bringing glory back to the continent as well. G2 did great to reach did very well to reach semifinals. Fnatic, though, looking to reach the finals themselves and avenge G2 with a date against Invictus Gaming. If they can close one out, they are the advantage team. They are moments away, you feel like, a single team fight away from clinching it as a 3-0.
The last time a European first seed reached the semifinal at Worlds, it was Fnatic themselves in 2015. The Huni Reignover lineup that so many fans remember. They rebuilt over a couple of years, and now we're here looking at Fnatic making the final for the first time since 2011 when they won the original World Championship.
Hylissang gonna kite away. He's gonna find another teammate there to jump back to. He's gonna stay alive. No stuns to be had. Nice plays there. And now here comes the re-engage. A nice knockback there. It's pretty good plays out of Whippo, forcing the rest of the scene away. Here is the fight. Here's Caps, the front line, and the health bar's already shattered. Cloud9 scattered to the winds, trying to get in the back line. But look at that one. It's Jensen just barely buys a second, but it's already 3 kills. It's gonna be the 4th as well. He's trying to buy the time he can, but there's no way out. It's an ace for only 2 trade kills. There is no stopping Fnatic.
They win another fight right now, 3 members alive, and they're looking straight for the Nexus, straight to the final.
And not a single champion can stop them. Fnatic with a 3-0 run in the semis. The first ever world champion hopes to be the latest. North America will not stand in their way. Korea has not stood in their way, and they will apparently have to wait for a bit longer to see if Invictus will as well.
Death timer stand in their way.
Infernal Drakes will not stand in their way as they head down to take that objective. Here's a look at the replay, though. Cloud9, as we said, they've been fighting this whole tournament. They're looking for more of those fights. They try to engage on Fnatic in their own jungle. Whippo does flash out of that big stun, but Cap finds the flank onto 4 members, and it is those 2 guys that have really controlled the area that these team fights have taken place in. The Victor AoE comes through with the Aatrox AoE. They take out so much of the heart of the C9 fight that even though Jensen did find his way into the backline versus Reckless, it didn't matter.
And Reckless' job in that fight was just to try and stay alive against Echo and Lissandra.
Damage.
It's actually insane. Bot lane.
Well, Licorice is on the run. He's trying to get away from Caps. Look how fast he is, though. It's a nightmare coming forward, and the ult's going to land for Broxa as well. They've got the chase. They've got yet another kill. Fnatic, again, 5v4 on the map.
And Fnatic are looking so scary here. On the well, never mind. They might run into this so-called Fnatic rush that you deemed it, with the control award waiting here.
The game interrupts all of us. It's an aggressive one, and one that might send C9 packing here. Fnatic have the space, though, to keep working with it.
There is a reason for that movement, and it is Baron spawning. It is now back on the map, 31 minutes into the game. Fnatic heading back out to the area, and C9 looking to hold it.
15 seconds on Licorice respawn, another 4 to channel teleport. Keep in mind, Fnatic can also just push in mid, and they can knock to the Nexus that way. C9 put over a barrel here. What can they find to get back into this one? Backs against the wall. Baron being attacked already. 6,000 gold lead.
No flash on Victor. Surely he can be the only target. They're going for him.
Going for the big play. The jungler, Cloud9, getting worn down. Bursted out. He's gone already, and Baron's at 2K. Whippo will finally fall, but there's no smite to contest, and Baron is picked up. Cloud9 get a couple of kills, but it's still better on Fnatic's side. The chase in. They found Caps. He does not have flash. He does not have the ultimate. Jumps over the wall as Licorice. Almost the damage. One more auto would knock down the mid lane, and Licorice is still trying. Can he get over? They're now going to go for Reckless, but the feather's flying. He gets away. The Blade Color finds more team, and Sneaky goes down. Broxa in the back line, killing just everybody. A double for the Rek'Sai, and now it's C9 forced to run, but they do not have a way out because Rek'Sai is on the hunt. Licorice finds a single, but he's knocked into the air. The ult's gonna come across, but they're still trying to fight him. He's stuck between a Rek'Sai and a Xayah, and the flash forward is the ace, and Fnatic once again control it all.
Svenskeren is respawning right now to try and kill the minions at the Nexus turrets. Fnatic only 2 players alive right now. We might get another big one before the game is fully over.
It's an 8,000 gold lead for Fnatic right now. There have been 34 kills in this game, and it's only been 32.5 minutes. Still ahead of schedule.
It's at least an entertaining one, Kobe, even if it's bittersweet for Cloud9. Farther and farther behind Fnatic, almost assuredly going to be the 3-0 sweep in this one as they knock down more of the structures. They can recall one more time without problems and collect their profits, buy more items, and deal that death blow to North America's last hope.
Oh yes, they're setting up for the last final one. On the side of Fnatic, 4 items right now on Reckless. Caps on the Aatrox. Great early start to the game and been insane in every single team fight so far. We've seen the damage he can deal, same thing for Whippo and the Victor. So all the damage deals already. Side of Fnatic, I feel like everyone has been looking at these fights and saying, yeah, Fnatic are gonna win every single one. But it's always been fights that's been very long, very drawn out, and someone on C9 gets to respawn and defend, giving them one last chance. I'm gonna make that call now. One last chance to defend the Nexus.
All right, let's see what that fight is.
One last chance for North America's one last hope as Fnatic come marching in. They're pushing all side waves up. They have super minions coming down the mid lane. Super Aatrox going up the top lane, and everybody else trying to push through bottom.
Watch the Echo. Watch the Aatrox. Where are Caps and where are Licorice? Is there ever going to be a 5v4 that a team can advantage? Right now, it's Licorice just maybe to lead it at the start as Caps dives him under the turret, forcing him away. Look at the damage output. At least Caps will lose the ultimate, but is there a re-engage for Cloud9? Keep in mind, bots already being attacked. That inhibitor certain to fall. Jensen will get the GA, but there's the attack onto the Nexus turrets, forcing back Sneaky. He's got to be forced back to heal, and a knockup comes through for Broxa as it's 5v3 on the map. Another inhibitor likely to fall as Fnatic just keep waiting for the waves to push down the Nexus. 5v3, and the last hope for the West will be Fnatic, the kings of the West, the kings of Europe. It's going to be Fnatic looking to knock it down in the 5v3 to get those last few kills. A desperate engage and a shutdown on the Cap. A few more seconds fought, but look at the blade color. It's everyone dead. Fnatic are the kings of the West, and they will represent in the World Final.
Good evening.
Welcome to LEC Update, the show you never thought you needed, and once you've seen it, you'll know for sure.
I'm Ify de Portere.
And I'm Christy Frierson. Last week in Athens, the LEC hosted what was possibly the greatest European series of all time. I am, of course, referring to Fnatic versus Schalke. Honestly, though, I'm expecting to see Schalke rebrand to Schalke 0 Drive for 2020. Now, all of our teams had booths at the venue in Athens. Misfits hosted a silent disco to keep in theme with their silent summer. And Origin had a fan meet zone where you could take pictures with Deficio and Expeke. If you're wondering why none of the players showed up, you shouldn't be. I don't think I've seen Origin since spring.
The real series was our finals. After taking down Fnatic in a full 5 games, G2 qualified as Europe's first seed. But without the play-in stage to keep this team focused, I think we all know what's coming next. A classic G2 vacation. Well, that's got to put Ocelot on edge, considering his entire life savings are on the line.
Would you bet all your money right now on saying G2 becomes world champion? Yes. There you go.
I don't know if we heard that, but anyway, his entire life savings are on the line. Now, the prediction game ended with Laure taking first place as her rightful title as superior analyst. Now, throughout the split, we also invited guest analysts to make their own predictions. Tied in last place are Deficio and Ocelot. There's no joke here. I just thought that you should all know. Now, Laure, she's enjoying her victory in Korea this week, while Papa Smithy will be counting his days there, since 100 Thieves are literally robbing LCK of everyone's favorite Papa.
Back in the LEC on Friday, Splyce, who had disappointed many by getting 3-0'd in the first round of playoffs, and Origin, who had disappointed for the entire summer, faced off on Friday, and you guessed it, they both let us down again. You ever hear the phrase light at the end of the tunnel? Well, on Friday, there was just an extremely long tunnel, and it was pitch black. What about actions speak louder than 1,000 words? If that's the case, it was dead silent in the studio on Friday. It was like watching paint dry, but even that would be preferable to what we witnessed. Believe me, I could go all day, and the series felt like it could too. I don't know if we should blame the teams or the people that scheduled the games for Friday the 13th. Either way, it was just unlucky, and at the end of it all, Nuke Duck became Roast Duck.
Well, after being completely absent from Splyce's long series on Friday, everything turned around thanks to the exotic platter of snacks Splyce had backstage yesterday. Xerxes, he completely transformed through an entire character development arc. He went from being an innocent high school chemistry teacher to the one who knocks. And spoiler, Schalke fared far worse than Gus Fring did. Now, Splyce, they just had a better trick up their sleeve. They found the upset win, and there was nothing O3 Douamne could do about it this time either.
Today is the final day of the regional qualifier and will determine which of these two teams will go into Worlds as second seed and who will get knocked out in play-ins. With Worlds just around the corner, many teams have decided to boot camp here in Europe this time around. Usually teams travel to Korea to have their egos shattered in scrims, but this year it seems pros would rather have their mental endurance tested by European solo queue. I just hope these teams are more resilient than some streamers.
Today also marks the end of the inaugural LEC season. We hope you enjoyed watching all the content we made as much as we enjoyed making it for you. From your stupid interview show,
to your stupid interview show,
to Medivetti,
to Drake and Dur,
to Quick Stats,
to Medivetti,
to LEC Safari,
to more Medivetti,
to the mediocre rap battles,
to Medivetti.
Okay, that's enough. For LEC Update, I'm Ify de Portere.
And I'm Christy Frierson. Seriously.
Season. Splyce, they finally made it back to Worlds, but their biggest challenge still remains, a fight with Fnatic for Europe's second seed. Hello everyone, I'm Shox. joined by Frosk and Yamato. Cannon, are we feeling a little emotional that it is the last day of the LEC's inaugural season?
It's crazy how time flies. It feels like yesterday LEC rebranded, and this entire year has been just a massive success. It's amazing that it's coming to an end today.
In America, usually in school on like the last day, right before summer vacation, you have this big thing. We like throw everything up in the air and everyone's like going wild. It does kind of feel like the last day before summer vacation.
It is true, but not everything is done yet. And of course, yesterday, Splyce made it to Worlds for the first time since 2016 as they defied expectations by sweeping Schalke 0-4. I say defy expectations because after Friday's showing and Splyce's poor showing, even in a win, Frost, we didn't expect them to be this good versus Schalke.
Yeah, I felt like the recency bias that people saw Splyce versus Origin and they were ready to just count Splyce out. But again, if you cast your mind back only 4 weeks, it was Splyce that was toe-to-toe with Fnatic, who they'll get another shot at today of who was actually going to take that second seed for regular split and go directly to Athens. They were denied then, they can get their revenge here and force Fnatic into play-ins or find themselves in that.
This is the best form I've seen Splyce all year in, because they had these glimpses of hope and glimpses of brilliance throughout the split, but never consistently game after game. They had this 3 in a row, and I think it spells for a good future for Splyce.
I hope so, and I hope they can find that consistency when they go into Worlds. Final notes on Schalke 04. Such a heartbreaker again. Last year falling at the last hurdle before Worlds, and now again they don't make it. Upset still can't be at Worlds, but in the end it wasn't enough once again, Yamato.
I think it's crazy to think that they ended the season with a 0-6 lose streak. That must hurt and must be very painful at the time, but the off-season is a time for reflection and to learn. They've been in the same situation twice now. I'm expecting Schalke to come back even stronger next year.
We will see tonight. Fnatic and Splyce, 2 EU Worlds representatives, will face off in that best-of-5 for seeding going into Worlds. And so far, 22 teams have secured a spot at World 2019 in Europe. A lot of names, a lot of regions represented, so I wanted to take the time to pick out a couple. So I'm going to ask you first, Frosk, who are we looking at from the LPL?
What is this report card that I'm looking at right now?
Why is LCK on top?
I know, right? Biased? I mean, for the LPL representatives, you have Royal Never Give Up, RNG, as well as Invictus Gaming. I don't think they need any introduction. I think people are pretty clued into who you're going to watch on that. So I do want to focus a bit more on FPX, or Fun Plus Phoenix. This is a team that has been denied international recognition for a while, simply because they couldn't get to the international stage. It was kind of the running joke that they go into playoffs and Doinby's team absolutely collapses. So to finally get to see him make a debut at Worlds, he's been around the LPL for a very long time. Korean streamer turned LPL pro, never played in the LCK, so he is 100% LPL despite hailing from Korea.
I think what's crazy about the Chinese teams that they brought to the table here is that I feel like they're so meta dependent. In the right place, RNG, if it's all of a sudden this bot lane centric meta, they can look very deadly. IG with their solo laners can look very deadly. FPX, if they have this style that works with the crazy picks on Doinby, if they don't get figured out throughout the tournament, they can look super, super deadly. So I'm excited to watch LPL and what they bring to the table.
Yeah, just get people hyped for Doinby and FPX, those crazy picks. Maokai mid, Nautilus mid, Quinn mid, also plays the Pantheon mid that he showed at Rift Rivals.
The new one, maybe?
I'm sure he'll pull it out, but that's just something to kind of whet your appetite when you look at Doinby in the future.
World Champion 2019 coming from the LPL?
No.
All right, well, we'll see. Maybe they come from the LCK. Of course, there was a big shock last year at Worlds when the LCK collapsed completely. And what we've got now is a playing field of the old guard of SKT returning with some new blood, but also 2 teams completely full of new players on the world stage. What do you think of SKT?
I think there was an issue of kind of separating the LCK mystique and power from the SKT legend.
Yeah.
And now that SKT kind of back in form, back on top, and back at the world stage, LCK fans can kind of breathe a sigh of relief. You feel that when SKT is there, even if they don't win, you have confidence that they're at least going to make top 4. So I think having them back there, especially flanked by the likes of Teddy and Clid, SKT are definitely a team to watch out for.
I think what's amazing about Korea is the fact that they're sending 2 very, very young teams. The struggle for Korea has always been that they've always played the slow style. And I feel like these younger teams in Griffin and Damwon can adapt to the play style that LPL has been winning it. We had the MSI, with the World Championship, very, very fast-paced. I feel like the Korean teams can adapt.
What are the expectations for Damwon?
I think there's two different types of lenses. I think Damwon is by far the scariest third seed, and so any group that they end in automatically, I think, becomes the group of death, but we'll see kind of how it shakes out. But it's this idea of tempering expectations. Yes, you have Griffin and Damwon who play a much more explosive style than you're used to seeing. Yes, you have all of this new blood, so it could lead to very exciting things, but it's also how will they fare on such a big stage? We've seen Griffin repeatedly in best of fives struggle to really perform up to fans' expectations. And I think that kind of needs to be looked at for this new breed of LCK talent. On an international stage, are they going to perform to the same level that you expect them to domestically, or are you going to have some of these growing pains?
Yeah, those question marks were definitely there for Griffin, even within the LCK this year. Yamato, if you look at the whole playing field, how open does this World Championship feel?
I think it's super, super open. It's so hard to doubt anyone because we have the former World Championship winners in IG. We don't know what form they're going to come in. The entire LPL is a big question mark. Korea as well. I don't think we've seen Faker in his true form just yet. We've seen Khan stumble. We've seen Mata stumble. Teddy and Clid.
Yep, there, everybody. How you doing over here? Hey, I'm coming from Lone Star State for y'all. Howdy, partners. How y'all doing here? I'm here to tell y'all about Clutch Gaming. It's their first rodeo coming over to the world stage here, but I got to tell you something, folks. They got new blood. They got old blood. They got ABO type blood. They've got it all here. And old Betty, she knows it too. Here, Clutch Gaming from Lone Star State. You don't want to forget about them. Now, let me start things off here. I want to tell y'all about Huni in the top lane. Some of y'all might remember him about, playing with Fnatic over in the glory days of Europe. Well, let me tell you, Huni, he's like a box of chocolates. You got EU Huni. You got NA Huni. You got KR Huni. You got NA version 2 Huni. Seems a little bit like NA version 1 Huni as well. Sometimes he's just going to pick the Lucian, and there's nothing you can do about it. But let me tell all you folks, they are coming here to Worlds, and they are coming to take it all because they know the strategy. They go for the Rift Herald every single game, folks. Let me tell you, 10 minutes on the clock. That bot lane's going to be recalling. They're going to be running straight up towards the top side. They are going to want that objective, and there's nothing you can do about it. You cannot stop those folks. But there is one thing that no one can see coming in. There's nothing you can do about it neither. We got Tanner DeMonte in the mid lane. This man, it's Tanner time, folks. It's Tanner time. You put him on the Kiana. You put him on Assassin. He's going to carry the game. There's absolutely nothing that y'all can do about this. It is Tanner time, and you don't want to mess with Texas.
After that, I don't think I want to mess with Texas. Yeah, well, how do you follow that? Well, it might be Tanner time, but it's also Worlds time. And 2019, that could be the year that it's coming home as EU look to improve on the success from Worlds in Korea. In our look backs at the previous World Championships, today we've landed on 2018. Worlds was held in Busan, Gwangju, and Seoul, and its results would shock the world. Now, EU, they had high hopes for champions Fnatic, but powerhouses KT Rolster and LPL's RNG were the favorite for the championship. But as we know now, nothing would work out as planned. Let's start with Europe's second seed team Vitality, seated in a group of death with RNG, Gen.G, and Cloud9. The tournament really seemed over before it began for the rookies, but Vitality shocked everyone by beating Gen.G and RNG, but sadly losing their quarterfinal spot by falling to Cloud9. Still, their performance and the speech coach Yamato Cannon delivered at their exit from the tournament inspired teams and players alike for years to come. Now, not in the least, G2 Esports. G2 really limped into Worlds after a lackluster year, and after their previous Worlds performances, surely no one expected them to make a deep run in Korea. But what happened next, no one could have predicted. G2, they not only made it to quarterfinals, but completed the biggest upset ever seen in professional League of Legends by knocking out Uzi and RNG in a Game 5 where Perks' LeBlanc ran rampant over the Rift. Now, in the semifinal, IG put an end to the fairy tale, but Fnatic, they would pick up the slack. Caps and Fnatic made an epic run to the finals, first beating IG twice at the end of the group stage to lock first seed, swiftly setting aside LPL's EDG in the quarterfinals, and embarrassing Cloud9 in the semis. Now, after 2015, Fnatic and European fans alike believed once again that the impossible could be possible, and Europe could bring home a Summoners Cup. Unfortunately for Reckless and the team, they did not live up to the huge expectations during the final, and IG and Rookie deservedly lifted the Summoners Cup. However, 2018 will live on as one of the best, if not the best year Europe has ever had at Worlds, and it reignited the hope of us once again lifting the trophy. Now, in the words of Yamato Cannon, play your style. And that is exactly what Europe did last year. Let's hope that the meta suits us again in 2019.
Thank you very much, Shox. Now, 2018 was the perfect meta for Europe, and I wanted to take a look at what would be the best for our teams going into Worlds 2019. Before we do that, we got to look back at the 2018 meta. As you can see, Aatrox, Urgot, Alistair, Irelia, Akali. I'm sure you all remember these very big, very powerful picks that helped take the likes of Fnatic and G2 all the way to the semifinals. There was a lot of flexibility in these drafts, given that so many of these champions could be flexed between mid and top. And the engaged supports were also very important to act as that teamfight initiation later. But the main goal of these comps was to basically play around your mid lane, play around your top lane, get your two solo laners ahead, so they can enable plays like this. We all remember Perk's fantastic LeBlanc performance from their Game 5 against RNG. And when you enabled your solo laners, back then, it was the perfect meta to allow them to run away with the game. Now, ADs were similar to what they are now, with Xayah and Kai'Sa being the predominant carries. However, you would rarely play around your bot lane. They were your late game insurance. On the current patch, things aren't that different, but there are a couple of differences, namely in some of the champions. You'll see Sylas is a lot more popular on the current patch. We see things like Karma and Rakan rising up a lot more in priority. Aatrox and Akali still very prevalent on the current patch, but while the pool of flex champions has definitely gotten smaller, there's still an emphasis on providing flexibility in your draft to allow adaptation in your draft and granting yourself a strong early game presence. However, there is slightly less emphasis on trying to get your solo laners ahead compared to Worlds in Europe. Now, you can play a lot more through your bot lane and rely a lot more on those engaged supports. Now, in an ideal world, Europe would like the meta to stay where it is. Fnatic and G2 are both great at securing their team's early game advantages and snowballing off the back of them. The worst thing that could happen is that these flex picks get nerfed to a point where flexing becomes less reliable in draft and we pivot to a more scaling and teamfight meta. Now, that's not to say that our teams couldn't play a teamfight meta, but that's not where they've evolved to at the end of the season and could cause them problems against the likes of teams such as RNG and SKT, who are renowned for their incredible teamfighting thanks to their top tier AD carries in Uzi and Teddy. This then, of course, could create some worries as both Akali and Aatrox are getting quite hard nerfed on patch 9.18. Worlds will, of course, be on patch 9.19, so the big question I have is, do we have faith that Europe will find new picks to make the meta fit to their style, or do we think they'll conform? Back to you, Shox.
Thank you very much, Verius. Well, it's an interesting conundrum, because does the meta dictate if there's flex teams or not, or is it the flex teams that dictate if there will be a meta with flex picks? Because I think when you look at teams that utilize them, it doesn't matter if some of them get nerfed. The strength of them is that they can find other picks that other teams wouldn't think about and bring them in their own meta, but it's of course not. It's easier said than done.
I'm with you. Like, I think for sure it's easier said than done, but it's something that G2 has done over and over again. We saw the Pyke in every lane. I'm sure they can find something exotic that we haven't thought about yet. And all of a sudden it becomes a terror in all of our solo queue games.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, there's so much that happens behind the scene in terms of scrims. And it's kind of like, there was a portion in EU even this year where Ryze disappeared. He was like super high priority, and then he disappeared for, I think, a week and a half, and then he suddenly shot back up. And the thing is that you never know what happens in scrims, how schedules change, but teams can get it in their head that a champion just will not work because they run it in scrims and they just get shut down every single time by either a certain pick or a certain team. And so you kind of have to put together those clues through the draft and how a tournament meta evolves.
Yeah, it would be very interesting. Also, what will be interesting is to see how the meta evolves in this best of 5, because tonight we watched 2 of EU's representatives for Worlds on the Rift as Fnatic and Splyce fight for our 2nd seed and a spot directly into the group stage. The loser today has to go in the play-in stage, and depending on who you ask, that's a good thing or a bad thing for us.
So there's 2 ways to look at this. Either you get some warm-up, you get nice momentum, you get extra time to figure out the meta, get your scrim time in, like shake off all of the stage nerves, or you end up in a group of death because you're suddenly coming in as a 3rd seed and you just get blasted by having 2 number 2 seeds and a number 1 seed that looks crazy stacked.
I think in the case of Splyce, they have a lot of players that have never been to the World Championship. I remember experiencing the first time with the Splyce boys when we went to the World Championship. It really came to life the moment we entered that arena for the first time. The fact that they get to experience that Worlds experience so early on, get to play a bit more loose matches, get into the groove of being at the World Championship, I think that can be very positive for them.
It could be.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
Then you also don't want to lose this best of 5, of course. So it's you know, it's a hard one to choose, and I think both teams definitely are coming in here wanting to win. Now let's talk about Fnatic. They are coming off 10 games versus G2, and if we toss kind of the heartbreak aside, which was no doubt monumental for these guys, they did show a fantastic level in those best of 5s, more than I expected from them after the regular season.
I mean, I don't know. In terms of development, I think we both want to just jump in and be like, yeah, Fnatic are really good right now. It was kind of like you saw them sign off in regular split. Again, it was kind of neck and neck across from Splyce. People were like, who really wins? Like, people were tempering on Fnatic, but not 100%. After watching them do blow for blow with G2 10 times, everyone's like, nope, Fnatic and G2. That is a massive gap between everyone else. These guys are true contenders.
I think it's absolutely crazy how much Fnatic managed to grow and improve in between the weeks and also coming into the first best of 5 that they played against G2. But on the other hand, playing a finals is very exhausting. The last time we saw Schalke play a final last year, and then they had to play the gauntlet, we saw that kind of burnt into their play and exhausted their play. So that also is something that I keep in mind coming into this one.
Yeah, I think that works for both teams. The Fnatic that's come off those 2 heavy weeks, and then Splyce who's not playing their 3rd best of 5 in a row. And for Splyce, they failed in the playoffs. Of course, famously went out versus Rogue, but then had success in the gauntlet. But I do want to focus in on that massive change we saw between their match versus Origin and their match versus Schalke 04, because I did not want the Friday Splyce to go to Worlds. This Splyce I can get excited about.
Yeah, and it is nice to kind of see Splyce again make that same type of development or growth over the course of the best of 5 that we've seen at them. The only issue is, and the question that will be answered is, did they grow to the same extent that Fnatic did? Because we talked about how Fnatic are leaps and bounds, heads and shoulders better than what we saw in regular split when they came into best of 5. And I can't really say the same thing about Splyce. It is nice to see Xerxes really pop off yesterday, but do I feel that he is significantly better than the pop-off moments that I saw in regular split? And I would say no. Splyce look good, but they don't look forever changed.
Well, talk to me about some of the matchups. I'm looking at the bottom lane. Reckless versus Kobbe, 2 of kind of icons in their own teams, respectively, now back at Worlds. And this will be a good test to see how they do up against each other in the best of 5.
For sure. Reckless is a very, very scary individual to come up against, because you always have this conversation of who's going to take over, who's going to run up against him, who's going to take his spot as that resident AD carry, the face of the European AD carries. But that's not going to happen anytime soon, because Reckless showed impeccable form. And I want to give a kind of flashback to the last time they played the best of 5 against each other. The only time Splyce won was when they actually managed to get out of the lane phase with a lane swap. Kobbe got ahead, gathered Tristana, and all of a sudden he was carrying the game. So the potential is there if they can avoid that lane phase somehow.
I also think it's really important to kind of underline the responsibility that Reckless and Kobbe play for their teams respectively. Yeah, they play the same position, but Kobbe is like the insurance policy for Splyce. We always joke about, you know, Splyce time 35 minutes, and that tends to be when the AD carry really comes online, that they can just funnel resources into him. He's been the guy in clutch moments that he will plant his feet and say, no, I have the experience. I can perform in these intense situations. Whereas Reckless, Fnatic don't need Reckless to win. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not just as important, but it's a very different importance. It doesn't have to be 35 minutes late game insurance policy ADC. He can sit there on Garen and soak up for the Yuumi. He can be on the things like Karma and allow Hilly to roam around. Reckless is so good at playing weak side.
I think that just speaks leaps and bounds about the other players on Fnatic. I'm looking at Hilly saying someone that we didn't speak about when he's on those clutch picks is crazy. Broxa, MVP performance in the best of 5 against Schalke was absolutely magnificent too.
Yeah, speaking about Broxa for tonight, for more rather, on tonight's series, let's hear from Fnatic's jungler.
Hey everybody, I'm joined by Broxa ahead of his series against Splyce a little later today. Before we talk about that, I have to ask about World Championships. A few weeks ago on PGL, Reckless had some strong words about the mentality around Fnatic going into the World Championship finals, and he kind of felt that the team maybe wasn't hungry enough to win it. I've seen how you guys played against G2. We know you're going to be in World Championship. So what is Fnatic's mood like going into it?
Our mood right now is pretty mixed. After Athens, all of us, obviously, we're happy that we secured the spot at Worlds, but at the same time, at least for me personally speaking, everything was kind of being overshadowed by the loss, and it was a really devastating feeling being so close to actually winning and then not making it the entire way. And yeah, like we're a team of winners in the sense that we're all here to win. None of us can accept losing. We want to go all the way. And now it really sucks that we didn't manage to take the trophy in Athens, but at the same time we're all really hungry now, and we're motivated to show that we're still here to play with the best, and we are still here to
show what you've got.
Show what we got. And
well, look, you are definitely going to be playing with the best, either second or third seed in the World Championship. So how will Fnatic be preparing to bring the cup home for Europe?
I think our preparation is going to depend a bit on what happens today. I know our managers have different scenarios, really depending on whether we win or lose. And for me, I like to take it one step at a time. Really, I haven't thought too much about what happens after today. Obviously, we are all really hungry. We really want to win today, and we want to get the second seed because it's going to put us in a good position going into Worlds. But at the same time, what happens after is a bit of a question mark for me. I know we're going to get a bit of time off because we've all been grinding for so long now, and we're pretty tired, and just getting a little break before Worlds begins is going to be good for everyone, I think.
Well, I hope you enjoy your break. Let's talk about today's series. Splyce on Friday played one of the longest series we've had here in Europe. Splyce on Saturday crushed and surprised everybody. So depending which Splyce shows up, either way, you guys are the heavy favorites. What is going to be key to winning for Fnatic today?
I think the most important thing for us today is just to play our own game, really. I think we've showed the previous weeks that we're a really, really good team, and we should be able to contest with the best teams in the world as long as we play our own game, and we just need to make sure we don't have a bad day, really, and that we don't underestimate Splyce. And yeah, as you said, Splyce looked really, really strong yesterday. After Friday, I'm not going to lie, I thought we were going to play Schalke today, but Splyce needs to be respected. But I think as long as we just play our game, as long as we stick together and play the way we've done the previous weeks, we're going to be fine.
Best of luck in the games. I'm looking forward to casting.
Thank you.
Back to you guys at ReadyCheck.
Thank you very much. Broxa saying they are going to play their own game. When we look at the jungle matchup of Broxa versus Xerxes, what is Broxa playing his own game? How will he approach this matchup?
I think the key part here for Broxa is that he has 3 key champions he likes to play, especially this season. He liked the Elise, he liked the Lee Sin, and the Gragas. And I think that's maybe where Xerxes can find a way in. We saw the Olaf yesterday, maybe some counter picks, because Xerxes is going to be so key for Splyce's early game.
Kind of the sentiment for regular split was that this is brain versus brawn. We talk about how Xerxes is the pathing guy. He's all about control. He can download you and dissect you and then hopefully defeat you, whereas Broxa likes to sacrifice his own jungle camps for brute forcing ganks for his laners, which when you have guys like Reckless, Nemesis, and Blippo, that can really pay off if you start snowballing them ahead. And he's kind of the key core of a lot of Fnatic's early game power does start with them. So it's definitely a different clash of styles, and it's really who gets to execute on the day. Does Xerxes get to control, read, slow down Broxa and help Splyce get to a position where they actually get to team fight, or does Broxa just brute force through Xerxes and tear everything up?
Yeah, we'll see. The last individual I do also want to focus on is Humanoid. For me, he's been a bit hot and cold. He's definitely been very good this split, but he's not always shown his full potential. Now, for me, he really stepped up yesterday for Splyce.
I remember the specific game against Humanoid where it really, really showed off what Qiyana could do. Qiyana was a new champion at the time, and they beat Fnatic in a very, very dominant fashion on that Qiyana pick. Yesterday, we saw a champion that was banned all 5 games in the Origin series, Akali, and he popped off big time. I think Akali and Qiyana, 2 champions, are going to be heavily contested, and I would be surprised if Humanoid gets his hand on any of them.
Well, let's talk about the contested picks going into this best of 5 and the key champions, because we've certainly seen enough for both Fnatic and Splyce over the last couple of weeks to make a prediction.
Yeah, the issue is that everyone knows. It's super telegraphed. Like, you know what Fnatic's probably going to play, you know what Splyce are going to play, but I still feel that for all the criticism that Fnatic had levied at their champion pools, that they're still more flexible in this situation. The fact that Aatrox fell through yesterday's series, that Gangplank was given away every single time, so we know that Blippo is confident to play either side of that matchup, as well as Nemesis' comfort to play either side of the Sylas Akali matchup.
I think it's absolutely crazy as well that Rakan was untouched. Rakan, to me, is one of the best champions in the game, and it feels crazy that on top of Aatrox, like, you need to ban 3. Aatrox, TF, Yuumi, there's so many champions that Splyce doesn't want to play. What's going to happen in draft? They're going to let something through. We're going to see some Fnatic magic.
That is what I was going to say, because we talked so much in the last 2 days about how big of a difference there is between the top 2 in G2 and Fnatic and the rest of the league, meaning Fnatic does not have to adapt to your mini meta you've created over the last 3 days. They're just going to play what works for them and their strong early game. Do you think that is why Fnatic is big favorites here?
I don't feel like this series is going to be about adaptation. I think it's going to be about survival. Can Splyce survive the first few rounds with Fnatic? Are they tired from their brawl with G2?
I think this is going to be crazy because there's just too many things to ban, and all of these champions are super, super powerful, and I think it's going to be an absolute brawl.
It's going to be a brawl. I can't wait. Tonight, it is a historic occasion as 2 of Europe's world's representatives close out the first LEC season. It's been one hell of a ride. Let's see what's in store for our final day.
Thank you very much, Shocks. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what form Fnatic are in. Welcome to the Cast Desk. I'm Quickshot, joined by Ender, and Fnatic have a lot of games to reference. We've seen 2 different versions of Splyce, so I want to see who shows up today.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great to get a little bit of a taste of what these teams are going to be bringing to the world stage. And we heard a little bit on the desk there. For the whole season, it felt like Fnatic was the team that was sort of figured out. You knew what they were going to pick. But after 8 games in just 2 days, there's clear picks for Splyce that stand out. The Gangplank, the Corki in the mid lane, Kai'Sa down bottom. There's all these options now that Fnatic are very much aware of and can prepare for coming into today.
Let's see what draft looks like. For game number 1, Fnatic had side selection. They opted into red side. And I want to see exactly what picks they are going to prioritize. And a reminder, both of these teams going to Worlds today. We're fighting for 2nd or 3rd seeds.
Yeah, I really like the decision to go over to red side, specifically up against Splyce. Yesterday, Splyce played 3 games on the red side and won each and every one of them. And when they're on blue side, they're one of the only teams that will opt to ban the Yuumi. They really like to put Norskaeren on these engage style supports like the Thresh or the Nautilus, whereas the Yuumi isn't quite in that same wheelhouse. So it sort of forces this typical red side ban out of Splyce that is on blue side today.
Well, let's see where the priorities go, Ender. And of course, for both of us, we want to see whether or not Splyce can put up a good fight against Fnatic like they did in week 9. This year, Fnatic are at 6 wins to 2 losses against Splyce. They were the 2nd team in the summer split and the very heavy favorites today. But they need to bring that performance they did against G2 to crush Splyce.
They definitely do kind of come out here in strong form to prove to everyone that they're ready going into the World Championship. I believe in Athens last week, Yamato Cannon said on the desk that Nemesis was never going to be allowed to play the Twisted Fate ever again. Not here in Europe, not at the World Championship. Splyce starting that off with a Twisted Fate ban right alongside the Yuumi that we expect from them.
Exactly like you pointed out. Now, Silas still open and available. I want to see what direction they go with that. Rakan will be next to hit the nerf bat. So what do you think for first pick priority?
Well, I mean, one of the things is the Kai'Sa that Splyce really do love to put a very high priority on for Kobbe down in the bottom lane. With the Gangplank being banned away last year, they're trying to limit some of the champions from the Zichachi. But I do like this Gragas coming through from Xerxes. It seems like once the Kiana is gone, you have sort of the Silas and the Gragas for Xerxes. Those are going to be just 2 best picks out of the jungle. And the Gragas just gives you that very reliable all-in engage that Splyce want to take up against Fnatic.
And the response is then going to be the Aatrox and the Xayah. So Bwipo's going to get his most comfortable champion, dare I say it. And
Reckless gets the best bot laner on the patch right now. So Fnatic absolutely love everything they're getting here. Very strong opening rotation for Fnatic over on the red side. The typical answers, as you expect, Kai'Sa down in the bottom lane is Kobbe's most played throughout this regional qualifier. And the Gnar is going to be that ranged option into the Aatrox. So you've seen the GP do very, very well, but once that gets banned away, you need something that can keep Aatrox at a distance. And while in the early levels, Gnar doesn't have quite that much range in his mini form, it definitely does become much better for him later on.
Okay, so let's keep our eyes on how Vizichachi will match up into Bwipo. Vizichachi making it to his first World Championship. It is one of the stories that I'm most excited to watch. And as you've seen over the last couple of days, Silas, Akali have been sort of high priority, and there's the Silas locked in once again.
Yep, this is something that can technically flex into the jungle for Broxah. He played it in the finals up against G2. Wasn't super present on that champion. I much prefer to see him on something that can make a dent in the early game. The Lee Sin or the Elise, much more like his pick.
So the question I have for you then is, what would you like to see for this next phase of bans to determine whether or not the Silas is going in the jungle or not?
Well, I think you could choose to ban away 2 very early game junglers. That's going to be Lee Sin, and I bet money funny that it's going to be an Elise to follow it up, because typically you don't split bans in this rotation. Yes, the Lee Sin is by far Brox's best champion here in the LEC, but it seems like a good strategy to just take away early game options from Fnatic. Because when you look at this matchup, you think late game team fights for Splyce, you think early game just powerhouse from Fnatic. You remove early game options, all of a sudden it evens out, and we see a match much like in week 9, where it went to the late game and Splyce really thought they had a chance.
And if I remember correctly, it was Kai'Sa into Tristana in that matchup, and you know, Kabi went aggressively forward. He saw the crit onto Reckless, but it was Reckless's Kai'Sa that came out on top.
Exactly. It was Reckless on the Kai'Sa, and he absolutely went beast mode inside of that game, looking real good. Now, the Shen might look a little suspicious if you didn't watch the finals last weekend, but Fnatic do like playing this in the bottom lane as a support to enable their strong solo laners. When you have a Shen down bot side, it means that you can play very aggressively if you're Bwipo or Nemesis. Does that make sense? You have Nemesis and Bwipo, they love to play aggressively. You put a support that can immediately tag team with them and shield them. That's going to be a good option.
And then I wonder if this also gives additional credence to the Silas potentially going mid lane. I mean, look, it can still be pivoted. Once we round out the Splyce composition, Corki locked in for that mid lane, and they're just looking for their support now to round it out.
Right, so Silas is definitely fine this Corki matchup in the mid lane, especially in those early levels because of the passive. He can get lane priority through that matchup by spamming his spells and knocking away those minions. He also has the magic damage shield to defend against the Corki auto attacks, which are going to be primarily magic damage, so I do expect to see Nemesis on that. And then for Brox, it depends. Does you want to go for the Elise and risk going the double AP with your mid lane and your jungler, or something else entirely here? The Olaf is something I wouldn't put Brox on, but it's something we've seen a whole lot this weekend into the Gragas in particular.
Oh, I'd really like to see it as well. Give someone more of that strength in the early game.
I don't think Broxa plays the Olaf, so.
Well, we didn't think he played the Silas, and he pulled that one out. So it's going to be the pivot. Silas in the jungle, expecting Cassiopeia in the mid lane. So a little bit of a surprise, but what do you make of the comp now?
Well, this is an exact mirror matchup of what Splyce and Fnatic played each other in the mid lane. It was Corki for Humanoid, Nemesis on the Cassiopeia. That Cassiopeia looking very, very strong in that match. We know that this champion can scale incredibly well and just out-trades Corki blow for blow in the mid lane. Long extended trades is where Cassiopeia is really going to shine. And now with this team composition, you again have strong solo laners, maybe a bit more scaling options on your side here for Fnatic to go into the team fights up against Splyce.
Well, if there was ever a team to make sure you have some late game insurance against, the European team Splyce would be one you'd want to do exactly that. So let's take a look at where the early game is going to be impacted. Silas into Gragas, you've got some lanes to play around. What do you want to see from the respective junglers?
Well, usually in this type of a matchup, it's more about farming to level 6. There's not always a lot of early game action. If you do have a lane you can play around, you definitely can look for some options. Broxa maybe can punish a pushing Gnar in the early game if he does want to impact up towards that top side of the map. But this is going to be a game that I feel like in the early stages favors Splyce a little bit. They want to be getting Xerxes to that level 6 mark. They want to be taking their time. This is sort of the setup that is ideal for them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a preview of your European representatives at the World Championships. Battle for seeding is on the line. The winner here goes straight into the group stage, while the losers will be in the play-in stage. And if you didn't know, the World's Group Draw will be taking place on the 23rd of September. It's a week away from Monday. Welcome back to Summer's Rift for the very last series of the 2019 season here in Europe. No real shenanigans yet, but I will keep my eyes open because Fnatic are definitely famous for their level 1 shenanigans.
Yeah, they do love to go in early on,
They
don't they?
absolutely do. But yeah, let's take a look. Where are these lanes going to be setting up? I'm going to be keeping our eyes, like you said, on some of the early game advantages Splyce could build if we have Saturday Splyce playing today.
Right. So one thing that Fnatic started doing last weekend against Schalke in particular was starting with double sweepers for their level 1. They really like denying enemy vision inside the river. In particular because, you know, Fnatic love to go for these early game plays. We saw the level 1 invades, the level 2 invades. They do it all. And in this type of a game, we don't expect them to make those same sort of moves. But for Fnatic, they have clearly identified that just denying enemy information in these first few levels can really mess with players, especially a guy like Xerxes, who relies so much on tracking his opposition to tell his team exactly where the enemy jungler is going to be at any given second in the game.
Yeah, really, really important. And
Xerxes definitely been one of those junglers that has been a bit more sort of cerebral, if I can use that word. Somebody we've praised a lot for how he plays the game. But take a look at this. Hilly and Reckless waiting in the bush. Kobe and Noscaron about to step forward. Trades go in. That's a double taunt for now. Reckless starts throwing out the autos before he gets caught by the dredge line. Very big HP advantage for the Fnatic bottom lane as they turn to lane.
It's the classic solo queue level 1 cheese. You know you don't have to leash for your jungler, so you go camp inside the enemy tri-brush. Again, the sweeper that Hylissang took made sure that he wasn't going to be on vision there. And because Xerxes actually used his body slam to get over the wall the second the engage happened, it meant that he couldn't help them out. Because usually the response to this play is jungler comes and jungler punishes. That's what we're seeing now because both Hylissang and Reckless did take a fair bit of damage in return.
All right, the taunt does catch on Kobe, but look at the root. There's the flash body slam. First blood to Kobe and Splyce. Noscaron and Xerxes hunting for more, but that was really well done.
And this is why the level 1 cheese gets punished so often, especially the higher elo you go, because junglers can just show up immediately. Xerxes was on that bottom side of the map, and I was almost expecting him to go for the invade because he predicts the path out of Broxo, which is going to be Raptors, Red, Krugs into a reset. Now he knows that the Sylas is going to be on the bottom side of the map, and his bot lane can play respectfully.
Take a look at this as well. Timing. Hylissang looks for the aggressive trade, and it could not be worse.
Like, we see this all the time, right? And it makes sense. In the isolated 2v2, Fnatic are going to win those trades almost always. But after losing that, now that's going to be the flash off of Reckless, no ignite for Hylissang too, and Kobe and Noscaron should just have free lane priority in this matchup because when you consider a Nautilus versus a Shen, Nautilus has that AoE. He's able to help out in terms of wave clear. Kai'Sa also going to be very strong in that regard, so they should be able to push up whenever they want to, and that's going to mean when Xerxes is around them.
All right, it's nicely done by Splyce. Picking up the first kill here in the regional qualifier final match. And we get our first glimpse of Broxo starting to clear out into his blue.
So the other play I want to look for now, I think Xerxes actually has the opportunity to play a very fast style of League of Legends because he knows Broxo's offside and a big wave is building up for Bwipo in the top lane. It's a very good time to find a gank here before Bwipo can fully push this wave. Unfortunately, for the side of Splyce, Bwipo is clearing that a little bit too quickly, and with a ward there that Splyce almost surely went down, it's going to be very hard to force that play, and Bwipo will back off respectfully.
So the window of opportunity was available, but didn't pan out, didn't last long enough. You can see Bwipo instantly backing. He's picked himself up a couple long swords and will be returning back to lane as he resets.
Yeah, basically I think if Xerxes wanted to make that play work, you skip the blue buff knowing the Brox's bot side, and you walk up and you camp in that brush. But that does risk wasting time if Bwipo doesn't actually step forward to trade on the wave, and that's not a risk that Xerxes takes very often. He's all about the efficiency.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about parties, right now Fnatic want to host one in the bottom lane. Teleport coming down
people
as well. A 5-man stack, and it's instantly thwarted. Xerxes throws down the Predator. He's in range. And the Spider Nautilus pulls himself up to the wall. So teleport absolutely whiffs and is wasted. Vizicachi, however, did TP as well, so at least it's a trade in that regard, but no kill, no plays, no plates.
I mean, it's technically not an ARAM because it's in the bottom lane, but that's definitely what it felt like right there. We know Fnatic love to commit a ton of resources down towards that bottom side of the map, and I actually really like the maneuver coming through from Splyce. Because Humanoid didn't follow with the TP down bottom lane, he just ran up top lane to pick up that wave, knowing that Chachi then could run up towards that middle lane and pick it up there, so they should be getting the EXP lead off of that one.
This is a fantastic start for Splyce. I'm very excited to see how the series continues to pan out. He touched on Humanoid. He's picked up that cull now, anticipating a slightly longer laning phase, potentially, as Hylissang gets caught out by the dredge line. Takes a couple of autos, and Reckless returns to lane. He's got a couple of long swords himself, and the wave slowly pushing towards him. But it's a 1,000 gold lead for Splyce already. Some CS advantage in the top and bot lane, and Xerxes is setting himself up for a potential dive.
This is not the easiest dive to pull off. Shen's W gives you a lot of damage reduction.
Well, the dredge line will catch onto Reckless. There's the taunt. That means it can't be used on a tower. But with the help of Ignite, Fnatic get the first kill of the game. There's a reply back as Reckless goes down, and all of a sudden, Kobe and Xerxes, they're pushing the wave in.
I mean, I like the idea from Splyce. Again, they're trying to take this 2 versus 2 trade to get Fnatic low enough and to burn their spells so that they can't lock Splyce underneath that tower. But remember what we said, the 2v2, in those all-ins, like we saw earlier on, that's a Xayah Shen win right there. So even though Xerxes is there very close by, he's not able to get there in time, and it's just an even trade in the end.
1 for 1, the kill was secured by Hylissang and not Reckless, and this is how it started. As soon as the taunt goes down, Xerxes engages.
Yeah, it's really hard hard for Norskeren to get out of that one as well, holding onto the flash for a really long time. He had a couple opportunities there when the feathers initially came in, but Whippo takes a lot of damage here in the mid lane.
Oh, he's decided to go in. Here comes Broxah, level 6 for Humanoid though. He's getting traded, jumps all the way forward into Whippo. Nemesis rocks up to help out, and Fnatic get the reply kill, evening out the goal.
It's Fnatic with the quicker rotation between lanes. This is how Fnatic play almost all the time. It's what made them be able to contest G2 so well in those finals. And now it's them on the offense, able to walk into the enemy territory. Broxah now taking away that Raptor camp. It's all about the level 6 rush now. And once Broxah gets out of the jungle, it makes it so much easier to just dominate through this early game.
I want to see what Hylissang is going to be doing as well. Fnatic have made it very clear. They want to be tower diving, they want to be fighting. Hylissang level 5 working towards that stand United, and Reckless, he gets a little caught out. Reckless is down in a 2v1 situation and killed. Nemesis has completed the teleport, petrifying gaze, locks down Norskeren, and he will get a counter kill. Reckless, I don't think he should have been caught out there.
No, I mean, yes, there's a TP call coming through from Nemesis, possibly, but really, he had no flash. That just came back up after he went down. Not the respect given over towards Splyce to be able to make that cross-map play, because it was Fnatic playing very fast.
Oh, fantastically done. The taunts into the stolen Gragas barrel. Now, Hylissang will trade his life 1-for-1, but Fnatic are playing at the same tempo they did against G2 in the final.
It's just going to be a 1-for-1 trade everywhere on the map, because it seems like both teams are showing up where they need to be. We talked about the level 6s on the junglers. Xerxes, Broxah both hit it. They both used the cast to get kills. And now a TP will be coming through. That's going to be Kai'Sa returning towards this bottom lane. Maybe they can try to set up a play here with low mana on both Nemesis and Broxah.
I mean, look at Kobe, 3-1-1 on his Kai'Sa. Oh, that's an interrupt. Broxah has got flash available. He might just need it. He's going to dash forward, dash away, caught by the dredge line. 300 HP, smite it down. In goes Xerxes, and that's a kill back. The recall interrupted in the bush.
That's just greedy there from Broxah. I mean, not just the recall, but the flash too. He's holding on for that for so long. Could have definitely managed to survive right there. Uncharacteristic mistake out of him as we see this play in the bot lane one more time. I don't know why Reckless is walking forward like that. Yes, he has a big minion wave, but a minion wave's not enough. And even then, if you're going to make that play happen, TP's got to come much, much faster. Norskeren face plants into the Cassiopeia, so it makes it a 1-for-1 trade. But ultimately, I think this entire series of events could have been easily avoided.
Now, the thing is, Nemesis on this Cassio is now 2-0-1. Kobe on his Kai'Sa 3-1-2. Which champion do you prefer more being fed as this game plays out?
I mean, I would definitely like to have a Kai'Sa here. I think Kai'Sa does some pretty nasty things, especially when you consider both these compositions. They're both very mid-rangey style comps, right? You know, Cassiopeia, Xayah, not super long range on those spells, and Kai'Sa excels in these types of environments. Because of her mobility, her invisibility, she can absolutely pop off in any of these mid-range skirmish style fights. So the more kills, the merrier here for Kabe.
Oh man, this is such a good position to be in for Splyce. Even gold as we get to 10 minutes. The Infernal Drake was picked up as well. And literally every single member of Splyce will be very happy to get the additional stats on their side. CS pretty much even across the board, despite a lot of skirmishes and fights. I mean, Whippo marginally ahead, Nemesis, marginally behind, while Nemesis is marginally ahead. But it sets us up now for a very interesting mid-game, and sort of like rightly as you pointed out, Splyce and Xerxes early game not going too bad, but Fnatic have been able to trade back and keep this game close.
Yeah, and the biggest question for me is, can anyone actually match Cassiopeia in a side lane? It's a very interesting thing because her single target damage is so incredibly high, just spamming out those Twin Fangs, that if you're able to just, you know, put Nemesis down bottom lane or up in the top lane, it's really hard to actually walk into him. He can just clear that minion wave. You can't walk forward and try to clear it yourself because he will win every single trade, and you would have to commit multiple members towards him in order to stop him. It's actually really interesting when these two teams played the last time with the same Corki versus Cassiopeia matchup. All Splyce did in the mid game was dodge Cassiopeia in a side lane. If Nemesis went bot lane, 5 people of Splyce were up towards the top side of the map, and the second Nemesis came over to respond, they would do the exact same thing and shift their focus down towards the bottom side. So it was definitely a big point of pressure for Fnatic.
And I guess the risk factor of having Hylissang on Shen with Stand United means if you ever do want to pick a fight with that Cassio, at an instant he's going to be able to arrive. So keep my eyes on that as he has hit that point. And a first few big items coming in. Miramana picked up now for Kobe. Looking towards another little engage here as Hylissang gets caught up by the barrel. Broxah is nearby, and I'm looking at teleport timers. Whippo has his up, as does Chachi. Neither of the mid laners do currently, and nobody's made a play yet for any of those big plays just yet.
Chachi just wants to take a big trade against Whippo, who actually burns his ultimate right there. Interestingly enough, I don't think you're going to make too much off of this trade, Whippo. He's just trying to lifesteal back.
Well, a lot of damage down, but we've actually seen this like twice or 3 times. Whippo and Chachi, they're literally just trading and farming, and it feels like until they get involved with the rest of the team, that one-on-one's not going to do a huge amount. Cheeky Hex Flash. I held my breath because I didn't think that was going to end well for Hilly if he'd gone into the river.
Sometimes he just does crazy things, man. But sometimes those crazy things really do work out. The flash cooldown missing on Hillsang is actually the biggest thing I'm looking at, because when you consider points of pressure around the map, oh, that's flash out bot lane, actually.
Indeed, Reckless throws his out. His ultimate was used as well. So Noskeren trading flash for flash and also getting Reckless as ultimate. So another juicy target if Xerxes wants to come and look for another gank.
Splyce have to be concerned about this multi-man collapse coming down towards them. Corki is not with them just yet, so they are going to have to go back underneath the tower right here. There's no objective for Fnatic to be playing for on this bottom side of the map, so they're just constantly searching for skirmishes. I just think it's really hard with Fnatic's composition to find fights. You consider their engaged tools, it's very low range, you know? It has to be a Sylas, you know, landing an E on you, or a taunt flash coming through from Hillsang. It's very telegraphed engages as well, so the way they push this game forward can't come from just forcing fights, you know, ARAM in the mid lane, that sort of style. It's got to be through superior vision control or being able to flank and come from a wide angle on one of these side lanes for Splyce.
I want to see whether or not Fnatic can actually use the Sylas and Hijack to start some fights of their own. We saw Broxah running out that stolen Nautilus ultimate. There's some tools in his camp. Whippo is picking a pretty good fight here with Chachi, who's just going to be able to hop away to safety. Whippo did use his flash as well.
Yeah, Brox is on the way here too, so this is Chachi in a whole lot of trouble here without the Gnar bar built up. Does have the flash though.
All right, depth charge. That's going to knock Chachi up. Don't think the Gnar bar is going to count. That's going to be an easy pickup for Fnatic. 5 kills to 5 now, but it will be at the cost of a bottom tower. I think a bunch of plates have been taken top, so it'll be a trade.
Yeah, so Reckless just teleported up into the top lane to try and make this trade happen. At the same time, Brox is going to be starting up the Rift Hill. So in theory for Fnatic, they can trade up here unless they lose more members.
They will indeed. Hillsang's got flash available to him. He's got caught out. He's locked up, and he will go down. Kobe picks up his 4th kill of the game. That's after securing the first tower as well, and the top tower not fallen yet.
Why is Hillsang even down there? His AD carry just TP'd up into the top lane. There's no way a support Shen can defend 1v3 right there. At the same time, Humanoid can do that because he has the package, so he has the defensive tools to stop that one from happening. But Splyce have now jumped out to a gold lead in this game, and I think their scaling is very, very strong with the double marksman setup.
Oh man, this is terrifying. Rage Blade picked up now for Kobe as well. A 1,500 gold lead, a dragon lead, a tower lead, a kill lead, and a little bit messy here from Fnatic. And you know, the things we were looking for today when we came in was, what can we expect from these teams going into the World Championship? We know it's been a long year. We know it's another series to play, especially for Fnatic, who put absolutely everything on the line in the finals last weekend. These are a little bit of uncharacteristic mistakes, I feel.
Yeah, we definitely know Fnatic is tired after a very long year here, but want to see their performance coming in towards Worlds. Xerxes wants to steal it away, should be easy.
Yes, got some help from Noskeren, and we'll be able to smite it down.
Same time, Splyce trying to find this collapse here on towards Reckless. He has his ultimate, but he does not have a lot of HP. Gonna have to pop that one to go up, but he gets caught right out by Noskeren. That should be a kill if they can find it.
Oh, not done just yet. Noskeren finally goes down. It's a trade zone in favor of Fnatic as they get the second. Whippo picks it up.
Yeah, that's just too far of a commitment forward right there. So many TPs from Fnatic able to respond towards that play from Splyce. It was interesting. This is what we expected. Splyce sending multiple members into the mid lane and then pushing up, trying to collapse on the side lane. While Fnatic, they're always willing to pop the TPs and play around Reckless, even though he does fall. The rest of Fnatic were there and able to respond quite well.
Oh, I was looking at Hillsang, wondering if he was going to go for the Hex Flash Taunt Engage. Decided against it for now. There is some threat underneath the tower. Petrifying Gaze was available for Nemesis and Chachi for the time being. Just trying to boost the Gnar bar, but look at the minimap. Here comes Broxah. Chilling Smite down. Good flash from Chachi. Put some distance between them. Mega Gnar's about to pop. Nemesis isn't done yet. If Chachi turns back around, he could get rooted in place. Now all of a sudden, Noskeren is making his way up, and Chachi feels confident to turn it around.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to chase Nemesis all the way down through the lane, but, you know, all of a sudden, the gold lead absolutely gone. Every single thing went right for Fnatic right there, because Reckless wasn't immediately popped. Keep that in mind. Uses his own ultimate to dodge away, and even though Norscan lands everything, Humanoid did the auto attack kill saying right there, maybe the Shen W blocked the auto attack. I didn't quite see that on towards Reckless. Regardless, he lived a long time, and that meant both Norscarin and Broxa, whose champions forced them to commit their bodies into fights to go forward, were too far away from the rest of their DPS.
Oh man, so Fnatic 2-0-1 on their Aatrox, 2-0-1 on Cassiopeia, and Reckless picks up his first kill of the game. He's sitting on that Essence Reaver, and we got 14 kills already in 16 minutes, and definitely feeling a little bit more like the top-tier European team playstyle. Bubbo stood on top of his own control ward, and he's gonna start this fight, but there's not a lot of support. There's so much damage onto Kobe, and Kobe escapes with his life. Bubbo will get taken out by the barrel, and now all of a sudden Hillesang is rooted in place. He will go down as well. Fnatic picking a fight with incomplete information.
Whippo so deep right there, gets absolutely punished, and everything swings back. The pendulum back in favor of Splyce right here. The Ocean Drake, probably the only objective they could look to pick up off of this play, with the wave there being too strong in the mid. But it doesn't even seem like they want to go for that. They're just going to take the kills and get out free.
But look at the minimap. There's not enough vision for Fnatic. Whippo, fair enough, had a lot of damage, and they almost killed Kobe, but it almost isn't enough, and end up conceding 2.
Yeah, it's a rough situation there for Fnatic, going too deep, especially because they were just hitting some of their spikes as well. Hillesang coming up into the top lane. Humanoid with not a lot of room here to escape.
Caught out on that Miasma. Now I think his flash was just used. Twin Fan will turn him down. Now Kobe completes a teleport, trying to turn around. Petrifying Gaze does not find a kill, but the two-man stack does. And Fnatic reply with 2 of their own.
Splyce just throwing a couple extra kills in there too. Humanoid using his flash, gonna lose that in the trade. Kabe also falling down here.
So let's look forward a few minutes, not just yet, because Norscarin's going to be looking for a fight. Hilly and Nemesis, they are going to get some backup from Broxa. Norscarin gets caught by a very good taunt. Where's the Miasma? A little late there, Nemesis. Norscarin's able to flash away. And what this means at 18 minutes, we're getting ourselves set up for a very big team fight mid-game, which I am excited for.
Yeah, I'm definitely geared up and ready for that one too. Fnatic should be feeling very good moving into that next 4 or 5 minutes with no flashes on either of the marksmen for Splyce's side. When Fnatic have all their defensive tools up and ready to go, is going to be a very good look for them. Going to make it really hard for Splyce to force fights. And we know, as we've mentioned before, if Splyce force fights, they don't have a lot of tools to get out of them.
Yeah, not exactly the case. That's going to be a little bit of damage onto Chachi. Brox is holding the trigger. One of the questions I want to ask, what do you think of Fnatic's engage options if Broxa can steal some key ultimates?
They get a whole lot better all of a sudden. You consider like one of the broken ones here in this game in terms of like collapsing, catching out single targets is always going to be that Nautilus ultimate that you can go ahead and chuck away. But we've also seen the Gragas ult be very strong, and of course the Gnar ultimate that G2 fans will be very scared of. You remember Faker stealing the Gnar ultimate back at MSI? That is absolutely terrifying. So when Broxa has that Gnar ult, when he has his flash up, Splyce have to spread out, because if you group up against that, you will get instantly deleted.
It's so interesting to remember, like when you play against a Gnar, it's kind of ingrained into you, but it's a little more challenging to track which ultimate has been stolen by that hijack.
Especially when he's been sitting on it for so long. He still has that Gnar ult, by the way.
Yeah, depth charge is available to him as the mid tower's under siege. Now, Fnatic has sort of snuck their way into a tower lead. They've picked up 3 to Splyce's 1 already, and they've got themselves a very marginal gold lead, and Baron will be spawning shortly. So let's project for the next few minutes. What do you want to see, let's say, Fnatic do to hold on to this advantage?
Well, I think Fnatic, it's a little bit tough, again, because I don't think they have the greatest pick tools outside of some of those ultimates. So I feel like they almost always have to play defensive when Splyce show up with the same amount of members or more to any sort of play. Whether that's around this mid lane turret, you notice it's almost always Splyce pushing in and Fnatic picking up the waves, or getting vision down. All of Splyce's vision is very, very deep. So I think it's very hard for Fnatic to do much proactively in this game. Instead, set up around Nemesis in the side lane that we talked about a little bit earlier. He's going to be really, really strong. Not in the sense that Nemesis is going to be pushing down the big towers, but, well, there you go.
Yeah, Norscarin's going to be dead. He just caught out this time round. Fnatic find a key pick. They may be able to put some pressure in this mid lane. Instead, just going to be leaving Nemesis up in that top lane. Humanoid's now rejoining Xerxes and Cobby mid.
Honestly, I'm just really curious to see how that happened, because I do not think that Norscaron should be getting caught out in his own jungle like that, while Vizichachi almost finds the same fate.
This is huge. Vizichachi in his Gnar form already threw down the ultimate. The rest of Fnatic, they've started off the Baron. Remember, Norscaron's not with the team. Now Humanoid's going to try to throw the poke up. That is a massive barrel from Xerxes. This will dissuade any further follow-up, and Fnatic's gambit doesn't pay off.
I wonder how much Splyce want to go for right here, because mid lane tower is the obvious, is the free play. That's a one-shot.
Goodbye, Reckless. Xerxes, 5, 1, and 4 blows up Reckless.
Xerxes so fed right now. Double magic pen items completed, plus the runic echoes. Reckless did not see that one coming, and Xerxes doesn't want to slow down. They're just going to keep pushing that vision back in. Just 1 second. This game keeps throwing back and forth based off of picks, but it seems like Splyce are always edging just a little bit further.
All right, let's take a look. So this was Norscaron getting caught out. That set up the initial barrel, the Baron play that we're going to see in a moment or two. Whippo just
recalling.
Oh man, that feels bad. That feels so bad. And I don't know if you can forgive that, because he knew Fnatic were nearby.
Yeah, just got a recall in a safer position right there. Now, Reckless, he does have flash, he does have ultimate, but he doesn't expect the immediate one-shot. There's not a whole lot of time to react to that one right there, and that's a whole lot of damage.
Now, remember, kids, when 4 out of 5 members of the team go left, the 5th should go left too.
True.
Stick with your team, fam. 10 kills to 10, 22 minutes. It is still a dead even game. You talked a little bit about how you want to see Fnatic play a bit defensive with their team comp. Right now, they're going to find out Vizichachi. That's so much damage from Nemesis. Flash is available. Flash use from Chachi and Whippo. Now, Humanoid, the backup of the team, trying to put something back, but it's just top lane is trading.
You're seeing that Cassiopeia damage right there on single targets. That's going to be the Channel coming down on towards Reckless, as well as his own Featherstorm to try and dodge away from the engage right there. That was the Nautilus ultimate trying to come through and catch out Reckless. So it will be a split map right now. Fnatic going to be very happy finding themselves this Infernal Drake. But once again, it is Splyce with knowledge and vision around this Baron area that they need to be able to use in the next few minutes to set up for a pick, especially now that a lot of the defensive tools Fnatic have are down.
All right, Whippo's coming in from the river. So is Nemesis. Vizichachi's going to get caught out. Knocked in place. Not going to be locked out by the Umbral chains. And this is just a little bit crazy. Humanoid gets caught by Hilly's taunt. Now the turnaround into Nemesis. This is a split fight. There's Kaiser jumping in the back line. Humanoid will go down, but he takes Reckless with him. Nemesis running for his life. He needs time to get the Twin Fangs out. He keeps firing and spitting and destroying Splyce. Now Xerxes caught behind enemy lines and he's being run down.
Yeah, Fnatic just going to turn on towards the Baron right now, but fail to hop over the wall. But all they have to do is keep Xerxes away from the pit. They still have the smite up on Broxah, and there's no vision for Xerxes. He's going to have to try and wait, and he's going to have to try and burst it down.
There's a couple of seconds for the explosive cask is available. Nemesis is helping out the rest of Fnatic with a lot of damage onto the pit. There was a spot there on Xerxes. Fnatic are aware. Hex flash over the wall from Hilly. He's not going to be able to taunt Xerxes. Teleport coming in a little bit early. Baron will go to Fnatic, and they will be in control.
So strong in that fight right there. They're able to immediately eviscerate Vizichachi. It starts off again because Nemesis set up the play down bottom lane. Chachi had nothing to do. He can't escape from the miasma. The damage coming through the Leandri's Torment increase just stacking up over time. Now he's at max damage on that thing, and even though Kabe comes in and tries to get the damage down, the Zonias and the flash away to dodge so much of the DPS coming through is what keeps him alive there, as well as the sustain coming through off his Twin Fang.
And he did all of that without his ultimate. The ultimate came alive, or became active just in the last seconds of that fight. Such good use of the Hourglass and the shield. 7-0-1 on his Cassiopeia right now. And the very fed Kaiser, despite now picking up Hurricane as well as having completed Mirror Mana, 5-3-3. I feel like Fnatic can be pretty happy with how this has gone so far.
Definitely. This game is always going to be a battle of the backlines, it seems like, between this Kai'Sa and the Cassiopeia on the other side. But now that there's a Zonia's Hourglass for Cassio, level 16 coming through, the level difference absolutely massive between these two players. On top of the fact that the second Nemesis lands a Q, he gets all that extra movement speed. It becomes very difficult to actually trade against him, especially because Kabe's on this relatively low range marksman in the bottom lane. It becomes very hard to go blow for blow in these fights. And on top of that, Nemesis also has so much sustain.
Oh, Hillistang's caught out. No flash available. Ooh, that was far too close. Down in the bottom lane, Brox and Nemesis have now pivoted from the tower, and there's pressure in multiple lanes with those Baron-empowered minions.
Fnatic just want to shift their pressure around this Cassiopeia lane, who's pushing down bottom side. Splyce are doing the same thing, but they have less members in the top lane, and they don't have the Baron buff with them. So while they might be able to trade, they have to do it quickly.
So much damage from Whippo. The depth charge has been thrown down. Top tower secured for Splyce. Inhibitor tower is now being focused down, and the Gragas barrel has been stolen by Broxer. This should be an inhibitor before anybody can contest. Killer Instinct is available for Cobby. The question is, can Fnatic get back in time to defend their base?
Well, Nemesis does have TP as the option, but Fnatic might just want to take 2 inhibitors. That's going to be a worth trade for them if they're able to knock it down.
All right, they're going to be trying. Nemesis takes a lot of damage. Gragas barrel swapped and traded. Xerxes needs to body slam to safety. Nemesis throws up Petrifying Gate.
Cobby!
Comes Cobby! He goes for the hero play. Manages to take that one with the help of Humanoid, but is traded instantly back. Whippo gets another. The 80 carries to Splyce are down. The inhibitor has been focused. Vizichachi has not joined the fight. The inhibitor stands for Fnatic, and this is a gigantic win for Fnatic.
Fnatic might just be able to push in for the end. Now the TP will come through from Vizichachi, but it looks like it might be too little too late right here. Splyce committed into the 4v5 fight. They lost, now it's Fnatic on the Nexus.
All right, Whippo stepping into Vizichachi, who's going to hop away to safety. Nexus turret will fall. Body slam flash comes in from Xerxes. Turn around. Hourglass buys some time. The tower's still standing. Whippo's going low. Not yet dead. Xerxes taken down by Reckless. Vizichachi, the last to fall. Splyce are aced, but they defend their base.
Yeah, Splyce gonna be able to hold on for a little while longer. Norscairn trying to chase down, find some kills, but nice feathers coming through from Reckless to delay the inevitable chase. Should be able to escape out of that, but there is a teleport coming through from Humanoid. Around the side, they are gonna see Whippo on this red buff, and he is in a lot of trouble.
He is indeed gonna dash over the wall, and this should be an easy kill here. Humanoid secures it, picks up the red buff as well, and Fnatic...
I mean, look at their Nexus right now, though. It's getting destroyed by minions.
Oh, my word. Somebody needs to come and kill these things. Nexus is... it's gonna live. It's gonna live. There were enough minions around to keep it alive, but the tower fell. The damage is done, and you can see what was a fairly close, fairly even game. 25 minutes is now heavily in favor of Fnatic.
Yes, this is the fight around the base. Vizichachi, that's the man you got to keep your eyes on here, because he got an absolutely massive ult. Xerxes starts off, and then it's a 4-man slam. 2 members into the Nexus, 2 into the dead corpse of that Nexus tower. Fnatic did not see that one coming, and I honestly just can't believe that 2 members of Fnatic actually made it out off of this play.
That hourglass from Xerxes bought just enough time for Vizichachi to put some damage out, and Fnatic escape with the skin of their teeth. And as it stands now, gonna set themselves up for another potential siege. I mean, Baron's up in a minute and a half. I guess the safe option would be to play for that, and then use that with your super minions to knock over the Nexus.
Definitely. There's not a lot of room for Splyce to come back, assuming Fnatic do close easily, but this is not the typical lopsided game you expect when 2 Nexus towers are down and 2 inhibitors are down as well. It's only 3,000 gold separating these 2 teams. At the same time, I have to quickly praise Cobby's itemization. A lot of times you see the Kai'Sa go for the full AP build when you have a Corki in the mid lane and a Gragas in the jungle. Thank you for building the Infinity Edge and the Runon's Hurricane. You need that damage diversification to fight against the tank line of Fnatic. Now they're trying to set up this fight. Find the flank on towards Fnatic. Can you catch Nemesis? That is going to be the biggest question. He has the Zonias, he has the flash. They're going to try and find it with Xerxes from the back.
That's a 5-man
No!
That's a dead Broxer. Now the turnaround is Xerxes, not going to be enough. But look at that! Nemesis is melting Splyce. He's already got 2. Flash is available to him if he wants to chase. And he does. Twin Fang of the Twin Fang goes golden, and the Stand United will be delivering. Reckless is looking for Cobby. Continues to chase down, throwing out auto after auto. Takes a big chunk of damage as the feathers are thrown out. Call back. And he turns his attention to Xerxes. The last man standing for Splyce. The Nexus is the focus. And Fnatic will take game 1 in this series. Be sure to stick around for our post-match. Mickey from G2 is joining the AD to help break it down. And while there were some questionable plays that game, I am very happy and excited to see Splyce kind of trading blow for blow with Fnatic in the early game. And being proactive, and Xerxes seemingly starting hot today.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a messy game between these two teams, but that's usually how games look with the Fnatic in them, because they like to play fast and loose. It was nice to see Fnatic, or Splyce rather, getting in the mud with them, tangoing with them just a little bit. At the same time, they got the wrong man at the end. They needed Nemesis, they found Broxa. Nemesis Cassiopeia was absolutely untouchable. They saved the last pick for him, and he absolutely stepped up and carried this game.
10, 1, and 2. And Nemesis Cassio was to be feared. This feels already weird, but I really have to commend his use of the Hourglass and the Archangels as well, the Seraph shield, because they were team fight changing. They were at exactly the right time. It allowed enough members, to back him up and support him, and he truly was the carry to play around. In Ready Check today, I believe it was Shox that said, Reckless doesn't need to play out of his mind for Fnatic to win. And this is a perfect, crystal clear example of that.
Yeah, Fnatic have proven so often they can play through every single lane. And I think we're going to see a lot of that throughout today.
We are indeed. Let's go check in with the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Back and forth game one. It's also going to be a back and forth analyst desk because we have another member on the desk, which is Mickey X from G2 Esports. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How's it going? Because this is basically your off time, so I'm very honored that you want to be on the desk with us.
I mean, yeah, we have a lot of free time, and well, I didn't have anything else to do at Berlin than stream, and I guess, yeah, I wanted to kind of also talk about these games. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here.
Perfect fit. So talk to me about this draft, the picks and bans in the first game. Just so you know, before the game we talked about how Splyce made this kind of mini meta for themselves the last 3 days, but Fnatic was probably just going to play what they're used to playing. What do you make of these drafts?
I think, well, it's a bit weird that Silas got all the way to third pick. I think Splyce for sure picked it on third instead of Gnar. I don't think Gnar is that good of a champion, and maybe it's a good matchup into Aatrox, but I don't think so. And I also feel like the Shen pick is maybe not that great with Fnatic's team comp, because usually when you pick Shen, you want to like play around sidelines a lot, and you want to like, for example, when they played against us, they had Akali, so it's really good with Akali, because Akali can just like jump in on anyone, and Shen can ult her, and then you're 2v1 and you get a kill, or with the Jax. But I think with their team comp, it looks kind of off. And yeah, they also kind of misplayed the lane, because they got level 2 ganked, but
we'll look at that in a second. That's a great point. Frost?
I think kind of my key takeaways when I was looking at this draft, just to kind of echo Mickey, I thought it was very curious the low priority on Silas from both of these teams. I feel like the Silas probably originally started as a mid lane pick and then kind of got forced into Brox's hands when Nemesis was like, no, Cassio here. I thought the Gragas priority, especially when you have champions like Xayah still available as well as the Silas, and then trying to find a blind pick for Chachi. The fact that he did have the gangplank denied from him, so he had to go back to Gnar, but the fact that it came this early into the draft phase, like obviously from blue side, he was always going to have to blind pick, but so far in, I think there might be some concerns for Splyce of making sure that Chachi gets on a comfortable champion rather than going through secondary ban phase and really getting blown out.
For sure. I think also looking at the bans, which was very intriguing on my end, is that we saw the Kiana Akali gangplank ban. We saw Humanoid not being so active on the Corki. It's a champion that needs to scale into the game. It's a champion we didn't see in the G2 Fnatic series for a reason, because they were too high paced. And on top of that, Vigichachi on Gnar, GP was a big pick yesterday. I think this was a big problem. And on top of that, Splyce's bans had to leave something through, and it was the big Aatrox that we didn't see in 10 games. It was you guys banned it 10 times. So it's crazy, it's just too tough to draft against Fnatic.
I want to spend just one more second on the Corki, because you make a great point there. We always say, well, Fnatic and G2 are the two teams that play so incredibly fast, so they don't even consider this Corki. Is this also how you guys view it?
I mean, yeah, we didn't really prioritize Corki much, and well, Fnatic picked it one game, and we picked Tinder into it, and well, that game was like free. So yeah, I don't think Corki is that strong of a pick after the nerf. I think there's, but I think they should just pick Silas on 3 and put it mid. But I also think that they could have banned Aatrox if they banned Rakan, because I think most of the, like at least against us, when we banned Rakan on blue side, Fnatic was forced to ban Yuumi. So I think if they do that, then they can maybe force a Yuumi ban instead of banning it themselves, and then they can ban Aatrox as well. So if they just copy our bans, yeah.
I just think you're under the assumption then that Splyce could play all of these picks, because I agree, if they had the same flexibility, they would, but if I see Splyce pick up Aatrox, I'm like, oh no, not an Aatrox team, please put it back.
Yeah, that's a good point, of course. We're dealing with different flexibilities. Mickey, you already brought up the bot lane play before. Imagine you are Hylissang and Reckless in this situation. What's going through your head?
So yeah, so if I'm playing on red side, then I should kind of expect to get ganked level 2 or 3, because enemy jungler always goes red buff into bot side gank. So yeah, it's kind of undodgeable.
And then Fnatic says, well, you know, let's just all go bottom, Yamato.
I felt like this was just too forced. This was just too quick. I'm looking at top wave. It looks kind of shit. They don't know Xerxes' position. Honestly, it's just too forced. I feel like Fnatic want to make it quick and just go home. And this was just felt a bit too messy.
I think what is interesting, though, is that Fnatic, while it looked forced, if it was the intentional dive, I'll give Fnatic the benefit of the doubt because they do like to make this type of play where it's literally like a plate gank and you just slowly start to put gold into Reckless and Hilly's hands, and then they swapped it. So once they used the TP for the Aatrox, they then had Cassio go up there who retained her TP because she used the roam potential. And I think if they had repeated that, having that extra TP on Cassio, whereas Gnar no longer had his, then it's like big brain Fnatic. But I don't know, I definitely need to listen to the comms. Like if that was called for the dive, then I agree with you. I'm like, oh, that's a little bit like too forced Fnatic. But if it was like a long con game of just slowly bleeding gold out of the tower and then using a TP discrepancy for later on, then I'm like, that's Galaxy.
Let's ask Mickey, is
I'm
this...
pretty sure knowing Fnatic is supposed to be a dive.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they want to dive there.
Perfect. Then the mid game, yes?
I do have one more question for Mickey, though. Because we were debating this with the Shin Xayah. So level 1, I don't know if you got to see it, they walk through the tri-brush, Shin and Xayah, they sit in the bush, they go for it. Is the intention then that you just wait for E to come back up and that you'll get the kill? Do they actually have kill pressure there, or did Fnatic even make the wrong call with Xerxes not there to look for that 2v2?
Yeah, I think it's maybe... I don't think Xayah is that strong level 1, so I think it's a bit risky to just taunt in level 1 into a Nautilus Kai'Sa. I think Kai'Sa is like
it was
one of the most
the minion
OP.
wave too.
Yeah, and Kai'Sa is like one of the strongest AD carries level 1 because of her passive. So I think, yeah, maybe it worked in scrims for them, or maybe they were looking back at the previous week where I was dying at level 1 and 2, so I thought maybe they can get the same this time, but yeah, it didn't work out.
It didn't. The mid game was also really messy, I would say, from both sides. It really came down to how hard can Kabi carry a fight versus how much can Nemesis do on Cassiopeia. And I did want to take some time to talk about Nemesis because I think, you know, in this year he came into a team where he had to replace Caps, and I think the fact that we haven't talked about him that much is actually positive because it means that he's been doing his job.
I've heavily criticized Nemesis on one particular point in the G2 series. There's so many times on Akali that he was struggling in late game fights. I think his biggest strength is that he's very, very patient. A lot of mid laners in Europe, they tend to die more times than they need to. I think Caps is a good example. I think Nemesis is very, very solid, very, very patient. And when he's playing the right champions, like the Twisted Fate or the Cassio, he shows up big time also in the late game, like in this one. But when I see him on the Akali, when I see him on the Sylas, I see him struggle. Many of the games, different Akali players could potentially carry those series against G2, and then maybe Mickey would be less happy.
Yeah, Mickey, what can you kind of explain if you play versus Fnatic with Nemesis and he's 3-0 on Akali? How scared are you of him compared to maybe other mid laners with that lead?
I mean, when he played Akali against us, I was still pretty scared. He was really ahead. Yeah, it's still Akali. And like, yeah, even in game 3 before the Nash fight, he was actually like one-shotting me every time, like just with an EQ. So yeah, I was still pretty scared to play against. But yeah, I don't think it's like that much worse than other Akali players. I think it's really good.
Well, the thing is, I want to look at him, Frosk, in terms of this guy is going to go into Worlds with Fnatic. Where do you think, or how do you think he's going to do?
I think it's kind of only a matter of time for like Nemesis to get the experience that is needed. I think one of the really cool things about him, and you see this on his pick like Twisted Fate, because he does have access to that destiny and he's able to impact those side lanes. Nemesis is really good at reading state of the map pre-15 minutes and finding like roam windows. And he's doing that on Cassiopeia. Like Cassiopeia, not the most mobile champion, and he's constantly there on the play, not just when he needs to use his TP, but knowing when to move. And usually on younger mid laners or less experienced mid laners, you don't get that type of ability. Usually they're very good at playing in the lane phase, but anything else outside of the lane phase, they struggle. That's not the case for Nemesis.
Final thoughts?
I think it's crazy because I keep forgetting that it's his first year. You see this Fnatic roster and you always think of experience and how well they're supposed to play. It's his first year. I think he's doing super, super well. There's still a lot of room for improvement. And even though I've criticized him on some points, I still think he was the second best mid laner that we had during the summer split.
We'll see how he evolves in this best of 5. Fnatic, they're on their way towards the World's group stage and look to take us to match point when we return.
Caught up on that miasma. Now I think his flash was just used. Twin Fan will turn him down. Now Kobe completes a teleport, trying to turn around. Petrifying Gaze does not find a kill. Now the turnaround to Nemesis. This is a split fight. There's Kai'Sa jumping in backline. Humanoid will go down, but he takes Reckless with him. Nemesis running for his life. He needs time to get the Twin Fangs out. He goes for the hero play. Manages to take that one with the help of Humanoid, but he's traded instantly back. Whippo gets another. The AD carries the Splyce are down. Nemesis is Flash is available to him if he wants to chase, and he does. Twin Fang of the Twin Fang. The Nexus is the focus, and Fnatic will take game 1 in this series.
Hi, I'm Pringles. I'm Chips. Wait, are we doing this Mac versus PC thing? Guess so. Then I am the Mac of the chips. Cool. Then I'm the PC. Perfect for gaming. Easy to eat, no greasy hands. Wait, I'm into gaming too. You mean like into the keyboard crumbled? No. Or into the TeamSpeak rustling? No, I'm into that new frag LOL thing. Well then, GG, my friend. What?
No, we're doing the clap first.
Answering
Questions.
LEC regional qualifier final match, where I wish I was taller. Quick shot joined by Ender. Once again, we're about to jump into game 2 of Fnatic versus Splyce. Splyce have side selection. They have picked red side. So I want to get your predictive brain on the go. If Kiana and Akali are expected red side bans, where does the Yumi fit into the picture?
Well, see, I think it's really interesting because, yes, red side should ban Kiana and Akali, but I feel like Splyce might just want to leave it open because otherwise there's way too many bans they need. Twisted Fate, Yumi, Rakan, are they going to leave those up? Do you leave Rakan open when Xayah is an option? I don't think so. So I think that Splyce is a team that likes to pick both the Akali and the Kiana. Could try to leave those open as well as some other power picks, bait Fnatic into something like a Rakan, then take them both themselves.
Ooh, let's see how it works out. Kiana, blue side ban, instantly allows Splyce to get rid of the TF, which means they can elect to remove Akali and Yumi.
So I think Fnatic are actually trying to set themselves up for an Akali pick right here. Although by telegraphing the Rakan ban so early, it might actually force Splyce into swapping their Rakan ban into an Akali ban. Then, of course, the priority for Fnatic, I feel like, would be on something like the Xayah that they valued a lot in that game number 1 and would certainly look to pick first over on blue side.
So in all of our pre-game discussion, Jax definitely was not a champion we were discussing. So what does this tell you for Visit Chachi and what his priority pick's going to be?
Okay, so I mean, his priority pick throughout this tournament has been the Gangplank, of course, up in the top lane, but I think there's definitely see, that's such an interesting ban because we've also seen stuff like the Kled struggle into that Jax, as well as the Aatrox can be a tough matchup. So if they wanted to grab the Aatrox for themselves early on, that wouldn't surprise me a ton. There was one game played by Zachachi, but this is a champion that fell through priority completely almost in yesterday's series for them.
And that also means that Yumi is now open and available for either team to pick up if they want to. First pick priority, and it is the kitty cat.
I mean, it's always going to be the Yumi here for Fnatic. It's going to be the cat and the Garen down on the bottom side of the map, and that means that we're probably not going to be seeing the Xayah unless Kabe wants to take that here. I would love to see him grab that third rotation here, but if they decide to go for something else, they're going to lose their opportunity to pick that up. Of course, you do want to have usually kill lanes around that Garen and that Yumi. You can punish it early on in the laning phase, but I think Splyce as a team would maybe be a team that doesn't like to do that. It would go for more like mid-game fighting options and do it instead.
What would you like to see as a counter to it? Because obviously Splyce knew this was coming, right? By banning the Akali and not the Yumi.
So it's really difficult because I don't think we've actually seen a very reliable counter into it. I personally love the Poppy in the bottom lane as a support option because it absolutely just slams Yumi. Every time she pops out, you instantly can jump on her and really punish her super easily. But of course, that is assuming that Splyce do want to go for that kill 2 versus 2. And if that is the case, then we would probably be seeing, we're seeing the kill 2v2. I like it.
So what do you put in support with Vayne?
I mean, I think Northscaler would love to have something like the Nautilus once more for him. The Thresh is also another pick they could go for down in that bottom lane. Those are sort of the two most played options for Northscaler if you do like to play around this lane. But again, Vayne's an interesting one because usually Vayne, you think late game scaling. That's definitely the case. But also one item with that Blade of the Ruined King, she becomes very, very strong. And with her true damage on her W, going to be very effective in the later game fights up against this Garen. Usually the problem with Garen is that you can never kill him later in the game, so you must attack him 2v2. Instead, they could just say, hey, actually, if we put a Corki in the mid lane next to this, we have some scaling, we have some, consistent DPS to fight against you.
Ooh, very, very intriguing. One of the things I do like about Splyce, the support staff, their preparation, their ability to read opponents is something that has defined this team for a very long time. When given enough time and enough planning, they can come up with creative solutions to take down their opponents. And I want to see if they can do it today. If they can shut down Fnatic's Yumi Garen.
So I want to see a Corki ban coming through from Splyce. I think it's almost guaranteed that Nemesis wants to pick that one up if it is left open because you have a Gangplank in the top lane and a Garen down bottom lane. You usually need some sort of marksman threat here. Fnatic, when they run the Garen down bot side, they almost always look for the AD Twisted Fate or the Corki for themselves. Could also be that Splyce choose to grab that for Humanoid and slot the jungle pick with the Silas in there for Xerxes. He does love that champion, so wouldn't be too far out of this world for me.
Well, we're about to find out in a second or two. Trundle is the last ban here from Fnatic's side. Another pick that I wasn't quite prepared.
So now I'm thinking, is it Sejuani time for Broxa? Because that's usually the go-to answer up against it.
Now, is this Lulu support, you
Yeah, I think that's actually, so Splyce have a really interesting strategy into Fnatic, I believe, if this is going to be Lulu down bottom lane. This is not going to be about killing you in the 2 versus 2. With a range support, that does mean you do have some push threat, you have some poke threat inside of lane. This is going to be Ardent Sensor time. We're going to match scaling with scaling here for Splyce, and as long as they have the abilities to force fights against Fnatic, they should have a really meaty, you know, just tank shredder with this Vayne.
And we get another Nocturne, stealing this one away from Xerxes, who played it so well yesterday. And as you mentioned, the Lulu plus Vayne combination is terrifying. Help picks, as well as the Glitterlance, just going to allow him to stick to absolutely anybody. And now the response here from Nemesis, if he wants to pick up that AP threat, which is something you were talking about, is going to be the Cassiopeia locked into the mid lane. And I think he'll be pretty comfortable, sort of, if it's the Silas or the Corki, which is what we were talking about earlier.
Right, and you know, when I was saying Corki for Nemesis in the mid lane, that was more like team composition goal defining here.
Yes.
For Fnatic, Cassiopeia can fill a very similar role, magic damage, consistent DPS with the Twin Fangs. Even though it's not necessarily an auto attack, it still definitely adds up over the course of the fight. And it's just going to be Throwback City here. We said we were going scaling for Splyce, we're going even harder.
Oh man, this is going to be very, very interesting. And of course, the Emperor's Divide is going to be so valuable in getting rid of Garen in your face in the team fights. This is the first ever Lulu that we have seen on Norscaran in professional play. And now if we step back and look at the 2 team compositions, what are your expectations for the 5-man squads?
Well, I feel like Fnatic really need to use this Nocturne to get the ball rolling, you know, around the level 6 mark for him. Early on, not a lot of options for them to go for. But when we consider late game team fights, it's so easy for Splyce to just push Fnatic away from them. Splyce have the range advantage. They have the displacements with the Azir as well as the Condemn from Vayne. It becomes very hard for Fnatic to team fight later on, even with the Cassiopeia. So I think mid game is where they must live.
Oh, and of course, thinking about the Silas ultimates to steal, you've got engage tools, you've got AoE slows and stuns, or roots rather, from the Yuumi. So there's a lot of options here for Xerxes to play with as well. And let's see how well Splyce can do in game 2. Now, to set some expectations, we were a little disappointed in Splyce in game 1. Fnatic played a little sloppy. They got caught out of position. It's very clear that they were not as focused as they were against G2, and yet they still dispatched Splyce in the mid to late game with what seemed like ease.
Yeah, and that's been the conversation around Europe for so long now, that they feel like fans feel there is this gap between G2, Fnatic, and then the rest of the league. Today for Splyce is about competing with Fnatic, putting their best foot forward and making a case for themselves to be strong players in Worlds.
And now we need to see how they bounce back. There was a lot of kills traded, obviously, punishing those mistakes from Fnatic. And with the Cassiopeia in Nemesis's hands, and now Reckless and Hilly definitely pivoting how they're going to play. We get to see how this Garen Yuumi's going to do into the Lulu Vayne. Let's talk about the early sort of laning expectations. Obviously, Kobe and Norscaran should have a comfortable-ish time harassing and poking them down during the early levels.
Right, and you know, of course, that's going to come from having double range, but I like this even more because you have this range support. You can go for this Spell Thief's Edge. It's really easy to proc that when you're playing against a melee AD carry, or a melee bot laner in this case, which is going to be Reckless, because literally every time he goes up to last hit, he's going to get hit by auto attacks, he's going to get slowed down, he's going to take a lot of damage, so it's going to make it a lot harder for Reckless to actually farm in this lane. And usually Garens are pretty comfortable walking forward and taking those trades of HP for CS because of the passive. The Perseverance gives him a lot of HP regen in a lot of 2 versus 2s, but that's going to be much harder, I think, against a Vayne Lulu setup.
I'm excited to see how this works out. Garen Yuumi has been something that Fnatic have played several times. It's kind of become like a flavor of European playoffs, so to speak. It's been very pivotal across the board. I mean, Rogue actually used it to defeat Splyce as well, if I recall correctly. So it's no wonder Splyce went back to the drawing board and went, right, how do we stop this? We know we're likely to face Fnatic at some stage in the regional qualifiers. And the answer that they put together is obviously this Vayne Lulu combination, the Prowling projectile early. There's a little bit of trade, Cobby and Norscaran playing a little defensively in the first wave.
So one of the interesting questions when you play against a Yuumi in that bottom lane is, do you focus the bot laner or do you focus the Yuumi? Because Yuumi can always just go into your bot laner, and it doesn't matter how little HP she has, and that's why I was sort of looking at this Norscaran trading into the Yuumi at level 1, skilling up the E for that free damage. But one of the things you can do if you do poke down this Yuumi is you force her to either use her heals on herself, or you force her to just stay inside of her ally. And when she's inside of her ally, especially in these early levels, the Q cooldown is really, really long. That's gonna be around 13 seconds, so you want to be able to have those auto attacks to fight back in the 2v2.
I remember when we first started casting Yuumi, we actually played a mini game of like rating players' abilities to hop in and out of their bot laner to trade and put damage down. And look at this, Cobby and Norscaran shoving the wave in. Just a quick stat for you guys. Cobby is undefeated on Vayne in his professional career, 7-0.
Well, all great things have to come to an end, Quick Shot.
We will find out in the next little while. Broxy and Whippo going to be double teaming Vizicachi now. Got a very big minion wave with that cannon as well. Going to get feared up. Whippo will eat the oranges and step back. One more auto will do it, but Broxy just flashes out of range. And look at how many minions are going to be denied.
That was a clean tower dive right there from Fnatic. Whippo held on to the oranges for so long right there to eat an extra tower shot. And then Broxy, you notice he didn't actually redraw aggro. He waited until he was in auto attack range so he could then get that final kill on towards Chachi and flash away.
Yeah, really nicely done. Death time is actually so incredibly low. Chachi was able to TP back and will pick up a fair amount of the experience from that wave, but he's still down 7 CS already.
It's going to be tough for Chachi up here, especially I think Gangplank early levels especially can be a very good matchup into that Aatrox. But also if we went back to level 1, it was just a really nice setup from Fnatic right here. We'll look at the replay first because it is Whippo, we mentioned, draws aggro off the start, just burns him with that passive, but then eats that extra tower shot. Then Brock's like, wait, okay, auto attack, now I'm close enough to escape and I can hop on out of here. But one thing I do want to remind you of is at level 1, Whippo walked into the enemy jungle and put a ward on top of Xerxes' Krugs, which saw him go for the standard path where he went red buff into the Krugs down towards bot side, so Fnatic knew he wasn't going to be there.
That is so much damage. Noxious Blast into Twin Fangs. And thank you so much for the summary of the early game warding. I absolutely was not looking at the minimap.
You're very welcome.
I was very excited about the 2v2 in the bot lane. And as it stands, Cobby, 32 CS to the 12 of Reckless, as sort of expected in this range duo. And we'll see how many of the sort of 2 waves in front of Reckless he can pick up.
I think even the other big difference we're going to have to watch for is the turret plates, because that's one thing we didn't talk about, was having 2 range characters means you're going to be able to access those a whole lot easier, and there's nothing Reckless can really do to clear away the minion waves. If he ever wants to walk into the wave to use his E and spin around and try to clear any of those minions, he's going to take a whole lot of damage. So it ends up being that Splyce have now picked up 320 gold total off those 2 plates.
And they are staying even despite conceding first blood. It is even as far as the gold is concerned. Humanoid, small CS advantage in the mid lane, and obviously Chachi was the recipient of that first gank, so he is in fact behind Whippo right now. This is already a decent enough start, and Cobby's going to be the man that I'm going to be watching as the game plays out, and whether or not this Vayne will be pivotal in shutting down the Garen Yuumi combination.
Definitely going to be the case as another trade goes down, but Norscaran pretty low on mana, shouldn't be able to do too much here, and I think Reckless and crew realize that is mid lane.
Yeah, Nemesis is in trouble, not level 6 yet. Here comes Broxy though. Duskbringer tags up Xerxes, and that was Humanoid with a very quick engage the moment he hit level 6.
Yeah, really wanted to find that play. Unable to burn the flash off of Nemesis, but Nemesis will very likely, he's going to stick around in this lane, but he's not going to be too happy with it. Only has the refillable potion, so it's not going to be the corrupting and the biscuits on the other side to match.
Oh, Whippo takes a turret shot and is trading with Chachi. He is level 6 as well. And Nemesis has stuck around in lane, taking a lot of damage from Humanoid.
So one of the struggles that Nemesis is facing inside of the laning phase is that he doesn't spec into Inspiration when he is playing this Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia almost always is going to go for Domination second, and that's going to be primarily for the rune Ravenous Hunter, getting that basically spell vamp off of your abilities when you're already getting it off of your Twin Fangs, adds up to a lot of healing in the mid to late game once you are able to fully stack that by killing those unique targets. over on the side of Splyce. So while he will suffer in the laning phase right now, that is what allows him to play so aggressively and be so beastly in those later on fights.
What's going to be so helpful for Splyce, for the laning phase at least, this very early Ocean Drake. 7 minutes on the board, going to allow all of these lanes just to stick around all that much longer and help try to counteract some of the tools in the Fnatic kit. So early Drake again, I think Xerxes picked up the Infernal Drake first in the previous game. Definitely get a little bit more control over that objective so far.
And you'll notice Gold doing all right for Fnatic so far in this game because of that First Blood going on towards Brox. That top side of the map is winning out, and you can see Bwipo pushing in throughout the majority of this game. Now that he has hit level 6 as well, it becomes a whole lot more difficult for Splyce to set up a play on the bottom side of the map. But that's exactly what I'm looking at Fnatic to do themselves, because now that Broxa has hit his level 6 mark himself, that's those double globals. Now, mid lane, bot lane, Fnatic can try to search for these fights, and once Yuumi hits level 6, it's very easy to just run up and lock down a Vayne or a Lulu.
Yeah, the Cannon Barrage plus Paranoia equals dead Yordle if Norscaron is the target. Flashes are available for both Kobe and Norscaron, and Reckless and Hilly also getting close to their ultimates. But the teleport was just used by Bwipo to return to the top lane. Chachi yet to recall at the moment, and his will be available earlier. So got to keep track of those timings and see whether or not an engaged bottom will be pivotal. The Condemned just missing, knocking Reckless into the wall and getting that small stun as Bwipo and Chachi continue to trade. This has been a pretty aggressive lane. Both top laners, actually game 1 and game 2, very willing to fight and trade and contest.
Yeah, Broxa hanging around this mid lane, waiting for that Paranoia to come down. Humanoid does have his ultimate though, so it should be easy to knock him back. Both junglers have the exact same idea right now. This is absolutely insane. Broxa's gonna go in, and they instantly delete Humanoid. Xerxes just a bystander as his mid laner falls.
He could do nothing to watch because it was darkness. While that's going on, Cannon Barrage was thrown down, and Kobe throws out the ultimate and the flash. That is already a victory because Brox's Paranoia will come back sooner and they can look to take him out. Continue trading in the top lane. Bwipo and Chachi are chasing, fighting back and forth. World Ender keeps Chachi up and alive as Bwipo eats an orange, throws down a parlay. There's the flash engage, knocking back and forth. Traded flash for Bwipo. Chachi's on the run, and nobody's died just yet.
You can start to see there's a lot of outplay in this match when flashes are up. But without it, Bwipo just outstats Visit Chachi. Also, he went for that Executioner's Culling, so cutting down the healing substantially from Chachi, and with the burn from both his passive as well as the Corrupting Potion, these long form trades for Bwipo are always going to favor him. He can also back away out of these fights, pop an orange, and keep his health bar topped off.
Man, 2-0 on Brox's Nocturne. The trades from Bwipo after being helped by Broxa for First Blood is allowing him to take some charge in the top lane. Now Kobe's looking to chase down Reckless and Hilly. Gets the Silver Bolt proc, chunks him out a little, but that heal from the Yuumi as well as the passive from Garen will help out. Now here's the bait. Brox has made his way up. Tag Chachi with the Dustbringer, flashes forward, barrels are thrown down, and with the fear, that's the hat-trick for Broxa.
Brox has just been the better jungler of this game, all over the map right now, not willing to slow down. Even without the ultimate, he's making that play, he's flashing forward aggressively, and now the Paranoia has returned. So once Nemesis, he has his ulti back up too, they can once again look for this play around the middle lane. And this time, Xerxes better be, able to see Humanoid, otherwise it's just gonna be an instant kill once again.
And I think this is what people were expecting from Fnatic versus Splyce in game 1. It's very clearly Fnatic making better plays early. Flash Petrifying Gaze into the Paranoia. Now there is support from Xerxes, and that will be just enough to make Nemesis and Broxa back away, trading ultimate and flash in the mid lane.
So now Splyce just gonna walk inside of Fnatic's jungle, steals the Paranoia, actually going forward. There is Xerxes, but can he find him over the wall?
Oh, not just yet! The Emperor's Divide not gonna get needed. Xerxes actually flashed over. Now here comes Nemesis. Miasma goes out. Humanoid sends the Sand Soldiers forward, and Xerxes will be able to dash to safety.
Reckless and Hill saying on the way right there, trying to punish, but Splyce, they go in right there. I loved seeing that snap call from Xerxes, not willing to get pushed around any longer right there and able to trade back.
Exceptional barrel mechanics from Bwipo. Managed to get some additional damage onto Chachi. He's still 12 CS up, got 2 assists to his name and the Sheen. And Splyce, they were able to pick up a very good kill. It was Humanoid that secured the final hit. But it was all set from Xerxes, stealing that Paranoia away, diving onto Broxa, and then again diving into the base. But he made it work, and while that continues to play out, the bottom lane is just continuing to trade. Norscaron on his first ever Lulu having a little bit of fun.
Basically just standing still while Hillsang is trying to bend the skill shot around and try to hit him. Oh man, that champion. But sometimes it is interesting seeing this bottom lane now that Rekkles and Hillsang have been able to stabilize for the most part. Was Xerxes coming towards the top lane.
All right, no teleports on Fnatic, no paranoia for Broxah. Whippo's got the cannon barrage, and he's gonna throw it down, turns onto Chachi. Not gonna be able to. Manages actually to trade it 1-for-1. I thought Chachi was gonna stay alive, and eventually Xerxes trades it. Now all of a sudden, Broxah Nemesis, do they want round 2? No paranoia up, and Humanoid too healthy for that one. So Chachi 0-3-1. Aatrox not going so good.
No, he's definitely struggling right there. The trade-off Splyce have made for their top laner and jungler both falling behind actually is that mid lane and bot lane doing quite well at the moment. But actually, bot lane gold has stabilized because Hillsang is getting so much money both from his own spell thieves as well as the relic shield from Rekkles. They've been able to make a lot of money themselves. They haven't actually lost any more turret plates ever since they went back to base, so it's just the 2 going over towards Splyce. And now with Garen at level 8, he can walk up. He's tanky enough that no longer can Kabe actually threaten him on this minion wave. He can instantly clear, and if Kabe and Norscaron ever step too close, they're instantly going to find Yuumi with that lost chapter locking them down, and they're going to be in some hurt.
Yeah, definitely going to be very interesting to see the next few minutes. Kabe's flash is just about available. A few seconds longer, and I actually feel like this Mountain Drake is probably a little more important for Fnatic than other team compositions, because taking towers with this comp is going to be very difficult. You have to have enemies of Splyce dead before you can step up, because they are so heavily outranged.
I think it's also really important for Fnatic too to find it, to be able to threaten early Baron buffs, because we talked about some of the scaling options. While I don't think Fnatic get absolutely slaughtered in the late game, I do think it becomes much more difficult for them unless they're able to find multiple targets from Splyce split off. So being able to take control over the mid game by starting up that Baron and turning right around on towards Splyce is going to be very important.
All right, Paranoia comes down. Remember that flash cooldown we talked about? It's just used again. Norscaron manages to escape for now, and Rekkles with the ultimate picks up a kill. Prowling projectile tags onto Norscaron. There's an ultimate stolen from Xerxes on Garen for now. Judgment is being thrown onto Xerxes. He's got 1,000 HP left. Whippo stepping forward, not going to find the barrel this time round. And the TP was committed while Humanoid takes a parlay to the face, and that Mountain Drake is the focus for now.
Yeah, it's easy for Fnatic to turn towards that objective. At the same time, while Chachi is trading turret shots on the top lane, Nemesis also free firing in the mids, going very well here for the side of Fnatic, and now they can continue to pressure around this bottom side of the map. There's only one cooldown that Fnatic really rely on to force fights against Kabe and Norscaron, and that's gonna be the Lost Chapter in the 2v2. Then you add on the Paranoia on top of that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be kills every single time now that both flashes have gone down.
Well, that's very, very good engage for Fnatic. They extend that gold lead once again to around 1,000. They got the first dragon. They lost, I think, 2 plates up top. Let's see just how many. But now Norscaron will find himself running into Whippo. Blast Cone will buy some time, but Whippo stuck around after the dragon. Fouling projectile misses its target, and one more auto should do it. Norscaron.
There's nowhere to go.
But the 6th kill of the game, the 2nd for Whippo, and Fnatic are absolutely in control.
Two common sight right there. Norscaron finding himself without any teammates nearby and getting punished for it. So Splyce decide, let's trade on the top side of the map. They feel like they need to put some pressure on the opposite side after losing Norscaron, so they teleport Kabe on in. Humanoid also pushing in the mid lane. So I actually think this is quite a good trade for Splyce. Yes, they lose that bottom lane turret. That was already going to happen. And now with that mid lane down and the Herald, they can slot that straight up into the top lane and try to get some money over towards their carry.
And I think they're going to need to find some ways to get Vizichachi more relevant in this game, because the Lulu Vayne seems to have done fairly well against Rekkles Hillsang on the Garen Yuumi. But Aatrox was so obliterated in the top lane. It's Rekkles and Hilly, they were considering a dive. Broxah's got Paranoia. He's instantly going to throw it down to Xerxes. This is turning into a pretty big skirmish. Teleport will come down from Vizichachi, and all of a sudden Nemesis is roaming up as well. It ends up fizzling into nothing.
Yeah, so Splyce really wanted to force that fight because they know Bwipo has no TP after responding to come down bottom side himself. But Fnatic way too easily just back away off of that fight. So that means Bwipo gets to fully push that wave down towards that bottom side, deny some more minions away from the Splyce lineup and get some shots down himself. This is, you know, a global ultimate traded for a teleport. That's a much lower cooldown burnt from Broxah.
Yep, damage on that inner turret. It's still a 2,000 gold lead for Fnatic, and Broxah's not done yet. We'll move into this top push to clear out the ward. I want to see what Kobe and Noskarian do, but the point I was trying to bring up was the focus in draft around sort of handling and controlling Garen and Yuumi seemed to be bot, but the playstyle decision-making from Fnatic have absolutely put Vizichachi behind. Look, no big items completed, and Bwipo's already sitting on that Trinity Force, and 2-1 and 2. He's in a very comfortable position going into the mid-game. Probably fancies himself a shot here. This is what you were talking about in draft, though, and the Vayne into Garen could be a good pick.
Yeah, and I like it, too, with the Lulu speed up off of the W as well, because it means that Kabe can actually follow up and chase Garen down through these lanes. It's always something they have to look out for, though, because, again, no flashes on these two players. And right now, Xerxes walking over a whole lot of vision inside the river. He knows he's seen. He's walking over that shrine. He just wants to help push out this wave and deny some of the vision away from Fnatic here.
All right, no cannon barrage for Bwipo or teleport. Nemesis is down in the bottom lane. Humanoid, with the help of that Sun Disc, will be putting a lot of damage onto Bwipo. Winning for the time being. Paranoia was now thrown into the top lane. That's an engage, and that's already a dead Noskarian. Kobe also gets tagged by the last little bit of stun there from Hellisen. Now the turnaround. Xerxes steals away the Paranoia. All of a sudden, Demacian Judgment comes down. Do they fancy a tower dive? Xerxes got a lot of damage to put out, and Reckless, after being shut down in the laning phase, is now 3-0, and Bwipo just ints. I'm looking at him on stage. He is as flabbergasted as we are.
What is happening right now? I was just about to talk about that top lane fight, and all of a sudden Humanoid just keeps pushing in that middle lane. This is actually a classic problem from Splyce, I feel. They tried to play League of Legends by the book. They see Humanoid pushed all the way up that mid lane. Surely they can run down instead. Now Nemesis going deep down in that bottom lane, turns around onto Chachi.
Damage! He's going to look for Xerxes as well. Throws out the shield. Twin Fang, 1 or 2 more needed. Not enough this time.
Unreal. Both mid laners pulling these off in separate lanes by themselves. To go back to what I was saying, Splyce, they had this mid lane all the way pushed up. So they think if you have mid lane priority, that's the first step, right? That means you can run between the lanes because you can always rotate first. Fnatic don't play by the book, though. They have the global ultimates. They force that fight right onto those 3 members. So even though Splyce did have the shove lead, they still could not react fast enough to that quick engage from Fnatic.
Oh, really nicely done. So Garen, as you mentioned, Black Cleaver picked up 3-0. Broxah is knocked in. He was 3-0 to start out the game, now 3-2-3. And Nemesis's Cassio is once again activated. It's already a threat, but I want to see how well Humanoid and Splyce can play out these next few minutes. They're only 2,000 gold down at 20, but it doesn't feel like that small. It feels like Fnatic are further ahead with their play and the decision-making in game.
And I think it's going to continue to feel that way because whenever you have Garen and Yuumi on the same team, when they get ahead, they force you out of your jungle because they don't really rely on these big cooldowns, as you were saying. They can just run at you. They're so tanky. It's very hard to make a mistake with this duo, so they can very easily take control over the river. And on top of that, you have 2 support items. That means double the amount of typical wards. It's top lane.
Yeah, that's going to be a dead Bwipo. He's going to get run down by Kobe. Chachi's the one that picks up the kill. Now, trading a kill for the Mountain Drake and the second Mountain for Fnatic, I think they'll be happy with that.
Yeah, so this is a play Bwipo knew was going to happen, right? This is very much, he is willing to trade, you know, a death for that objective on that bottom side of the map. And you look at what do Splyce get off of that play. They get some money off of Bwipo, sure, they can be happy with that, but they're not really going to get much more in terms of objectives. It looks like Chachi's going to push out that top lane, and then Fnatic have the option to try and send members over to defend.
So we do have a couple of moments before the next potential skirmish here. One of the things I would like to just touch about, well, as I say that, Nemesis is looking to kill Humanoid. No flash for Nemesis. Support from Reckless and Healy as the Luden's Echo on the Prowling projectiles putting some damage down. But he's just still talking a little bit about, you know, this particular match and the changes to regional qualifier this year. Obviously, championship points are used to guarantee you make it to Worlds. And now, we get to see which team is in better form, is in better shape. and on the current meta, which is most likely what's going to be played at Worlds.
Well, it's funny too, right? Because typically we consider, most major regions, the third seed they send to Worlds is usually better than the second seed. You remember like the 100 Thieves situation in the past, and a lot of these other situations.
G2 last year.
Right, exactly. So this is going to mean the best team right now is going to be the second seed. Fnatic, they want to say that, and they want to start the Baron.
Remember, double Mountain plus Cassio. By the time they get Vision, I think Baron is down, already secured. Teleport from Humanoid thrown out as well, but it is too late. The amount of damage with double Mountain in the pit means Fnatic just melt that objective.
So if you weren't sold when Bwipo, killed himself in the top lane to secure that second Mountain Drake for his team, you should be now. Because this is exactly what we said Fnatic were looking for. A very early Mountain Drake to extend their lead before Splyce could get the levels and the items under their belt to just win out in team fights.
And this is what Fnatic are looking for to win the game, because it's difficult taking towers with such a short-range composition. When you have double Mountain, you have Baron Pound minions, when you can play multiple side lanes, like, who's going to go toe-to-toe with Cassio, right? It's a difficult question to answer. And this is kind of what I think Fnatic fans were anticipating and expecting from the team coming into the series.
It's the cleaner close, right? Of course, we know Fnatic games can sometimes get messy, but in game one, there were just a ton of uncharacteristic mistakes. We've not really seen that in game number 2. Here is, when we talk about sieges, you always have to remember the Garen Yuumi poke, absolutely massive.
All right, Cannon Barrage comes down there, and feels like Fnatic want to fight. They're looking for a way to start it. But the final chapter from Yuumi has been held on cooldown, and there was no paranoia. I just noticed that. It is available now, though.
Can they turn it and use it for a fight? Don't think that's going to be the case here unless it is a collapse on that bottom side. Chachi is pushing up a little bit too far forward, I feel like. And because Reckless is so tanky, you can actually walk into the jungle and zone Humanoid away from this mid lane tower. Fnatic really want to secure that mid lane tower, and if they can move multiple members down bottom lane, they should be able to pick it up.
Fnatic are fishing. They are just looking for a target to hook and jump onto, and for the time being, Splyce are just on the edge of safety. Nobody gets engaged on, but it's a lot of damage. The jungle camps are not cleared down. Fnatic are still pushing forward.
And the problem for Fnatic is the timings were just a little bit off right there, because ideally for Fnatic, what you want to do is you want to fully push that bottom wave and then move both Broxa and Bwipo over towards mid and threaten a potential dive with the numbers advantage, Xerxes.
Well, Xerxes stole away the Petrifying Gaze earlier. Dashed forward, was unable to find himself the stun, and look at the minimap. Nemesis is up in the top lane. Xerxes is going to get locked down after reading the Kitty Cat's book, and nobody goes down just yet. Paranoia has been thrown on. The target is Chachi. He's already flashed, but this should unlock the top inner and maybe mid-outer turret at the same time.
Yeah, this is what we were waiting for in the bottom lane. Humanoid was there, though, to back up Vizichachi. This time, the same could not be said. The play was delayed for a little while by Splyce, but now Fnatic get everything. Mid falls, top lane falls, Fnatic can then back up. Oh, Hillsang, a little bit of trouble, but he is playing that Yuumi can get out away. But now Fnatic have everything and deep vision on top of it.
They already got themselves 2 towers. They push the lead to 5,000 gold. And with the empowered recalls, Fnatic are going to start backing away. They escape, and Broxa and Nemesis are left alone, but could get collapsed on. Not just yet. Does he get the 1v1?
I mean, he absolutely gets the 1v1. There's no ult, there's no flash on Vizichachi. 2-level lead for Nemesis as well. He should just go back to base now and finish off as much of the Leandries as he can. Don't know how much he's sitting on. 2,300. Don't think that's quite enough to complete it himself, but should be looking very strong coming into the coming fights, because on this Cassiopeia, it's so easy to stack that item up to get that burn damage increase over time that just amps everything you do. And as the primary carry on Fnatic's side, Splyce have to consider just how much this guy can deal out in a 5v5.
Yep, and also don't forget that he can be backed up by that Yuumi as well. So add Petrifying Gaze plus final chapter, and that is a very scary snake. Just for the next fight, did you see the Reddit thread about scientific reasons champions can or cannot wear boots? Came up a couple days ago, and it started with Cassiopeia. Very highly recommended. As Nemesis flashes forward, gets the Petrifying Gaze, and Splyce are absolutely obliterated.
That's just a massacre in the mid lane. I guess they got Nemesis, guys, but that is not going to be enough. The Baron buff has run out for Fnatic. They can just charge down the mid lane for the inhib.
Nemesis this year is probably the most impressive improvement that I've ever seen out of a player in a single year. Considering how he and Fnatic started to how he is currently playing. Nemesis is a guy that solo killed Caps last weekend. has developed and increased champion pool effectiveness with the squad and is now a legitimate mid laner to be feared across the world.
You absolutely must here. The rest of Fnatic, even with him falling down, charging and just blasting through the Splyce base. Let's play this one more time because it is Nemesis who starts off the play. He sees those guys facing towards him. That's a double stun and one slow right there. It's the instant shutdown on towards Humanoid. And yes, Kobbe survives, but there's not a whole lot he can do. Blow for blow against Fnatic team. Vayne cannot hold up.
2 kills there quickly for Bwepo as well as the Nemesis, Petrifying Gaze. I mean, it's very, very good play. This is what you expect from a team that pushed G2 to 5 games, a team that is looking to pick up the 2nd seed, go straight into the group stage at Worlds. And it's just giving us a little bit of a taste of what we can anticipate from both Fnatic and Splyce.
It definitely felt like Fnatic refocused coming out of that game 1. You know, we know that series against G2 had to have been incredibly taxing for this squad. I know they maybe took a couple days off coming back from Athens as well, and we're watching the regional qualifiers from home before showing up on the day. So game 1 was just shaking all the rust out. Now game 2 seems much more methodical from this Fnatic side.
And of course for Splyce, what do they do? How do they keep their hopes alive? This game does not feel particularly winnable right now. But there is a Baron being set up and Splyce are TPing in.
Yeah, it starts with stopping this Baron right here. Humanoid is huge right now. Level 17 on the pick, enough to force Fnatic off of this Baron. But mid lane, there's super minions running down that lane. There's 2 teleports on the side of Fnatic. 3 if you count Yuumi. They're just going to go for the end.
Yeah, they're going to look for the finish. Teleport is going forward. Remember, double Mountain Drake is going to be so powerful. Paranoia is buying some time. There was a recall as Kobbe's looking to stop it down. All of a sudden, Humanoid is out. Cersei's in the pit and Cersei's down. Baron is secured by the cat of Hylissang. Nemesis will go golden for now. Needs a little bit more poison. Kobbe's taken out. Nemesis stays alive, but will finally shut down by Vizicachi. Reckless is spinning to win, and Hylissang is on the Nexus. You and Me jumps inside of Reckless. Judgment is being thrown as well as Demacian Justice. Vizicachi 3-5-1. This Aatrox was simply not enough. The rest of Fnatic rock up, and they will take the series 2-0 for now, and are 1 win away from guaranteeing the group stage.
A much stronger look coming through from Fnatic in game number 2, and they end it with a little bit of style right there. They put Splyce in a lose-lose situation. Fight us at Baron, you're gonna lose your base. Go back to the base, you lose the Baron, and surely the game. These are the decisions that we expect out of a Worlds caliber team, and that's just what we got, Quickshot.
It is very, very early to say what I'm about to say, but the player of the game, player of the series nomination should be Nemesis, Nemesis, and Nemesis. He is playing fantastically. But I do have to give a lot of credit to the rest of the team as well. They shook off the game 1 mistakes. Despite Reckless and Hilly being really bullied and beaten up early, they did not concede enough to make that Vayne a threat to be worried about.
And at the same time, while that bottom lane was neutralizing as best as they could, top lane absolutely smashed. Brox's early game performance on this Nocturne was absolutely fantastic after finding the tower dive in the top lane, the kill in the mid lane, returning back top lane, and that perfect execution on the tower dive. It was just really beautiful to see.
It really, really was. And you know, we do talk a lot about the drain on Fnatic after going to Athens, after forcing G2 to a 2nd game 5. But also put yourself in Splyce's shoes. They have played 3 best-of-5s across 3 days against 3 distinctly different teams. And the expectation was that Fnatic were 1 step too far. And I think we are seeing that so far this series. They're not done and dusted yet if they can find some recipe in game 3 to extend the series. But you would still anticipate Fnatic are just the stronger team right now.
I think what we'd all love to see in game number 3 is Fnatic looking good in the early game and Splyce competing with them there as well. That's what this day is all about. It's about Splyce putting forward a strong foot and proving that they are a force to be reckoned with at Worlds. And I think we're waiting to see that fully come to fruition so far.
Well, let's see. Splyce potentially only have 1 more chance. Let's find out exactly how Fnatic won game 2.
Well, they picked Garen and Yuumi, and that's it. Let's take a break. No, just kidding, of course. But the Garen and Yuumi we saw it at the end was pretty powerful. And when we look at picks and bans, Mickey, what do you think about the Vayne Lulu answer, possibly, to Garen and Yuumi?
I mean, I think Vayne is a good answer to Garen Yuumi. It's just that Fnatic has probably played against Vayne before in scrims, so they have a good way to punish it with Nocturne Cassio. I think they're both pretty good against Vayne. So for example, Yuumi, Nocturne, just both press R when Nocturne goes on Vayne, and the Vayne is like, it's really hard to outplay it. And yeah, I think also Splyce could have just picked GP instead of Aatrox. Not the biggest fan of Vizicachi's Aatrox, but his GP is pretty good, so they should probably go for that. Yeah.
Yeah, Yamato, you had something to say about the top lane.
I feel like it's official. Vizicachi is a Gangplank one trick. Honestly, he looks like a complete different person because with the way Splyce played, they leave him on an island, and Gangplank is a pirate, likes to visit islands, I think, in some
Have a cocktail.
some fairy tale, and the Gangplank ult, he can pressure the map, but this time around he's on the Aatrox, and on that island he doesn't have a good time because he didn't bring sunscreen or something.
It's two different mentalities. It's trying to deny Fnatic their picks versus picking for your own comfort. And unfortunately, Chachi got the short end of the stick. He picked the Aatrox, they tried to deny it away from Whippo. Whippo is fine playing both sides of this matchup. He's done it multiple times, and then they just punished Chachi repeatedly. Has one of the highest isolated deaths of any of our top laners in the league. And to be fair, he is left on an island. It's not like Splyce give him a lot of resources, which is also why I think a champion like Gangplank really suits to his strengths. You can leave him alone on the island. You don't need to invest resources into that, and he can still be so impactful in team fights and cross-map plays.
So I wonder if we were talking so much about this whole meta that developed between Splyce and the teams they played in the Gauntlet. We said it's so different from anything else, and Aatrox was so noticeably absent. Perhaps this is also Splyce saying, well, hey, we're going to have to play this champion when we go into Worlds, most likely, or we're going to have to be a bit more flexible in the top lane. So maybe they were just trying it for Chachi?
I think what they tried to do in this game was just to try to fire some kind of curveball at Fnatic.
Yeah.
They left the Yuumi open. They could have also just banned it, given up an Aatrox first pick, could have taken the Gangplank side. I think they're just trying to figure out ways to confuse Fnatic. But I think with that being said, it's very clear. I think Splyce also know that they are mismatched in this particular matchup. So I think it's a way to try to make things a bit more messy.
It is. Mickey, do you have any advice for Splyce? Because they're, of course, 0-2 down now. What else could they try?
I mean, I think they should probably try to get Vizicachi on GP. For bot lane, I mean, I think it was a fine try. I mean, I'm not so sure how good Lulu is, but like Vayne is a decent answer into Garen. I think just second phase probably they should have banned Cassio instead of Syndra, because Nemesis didn't really play Syndra yet, but he did play Cassio.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure. They should like probably get some higher priority on GP.
I also think that we're kind of coming into a point where Splyce aren't necessarily doing the best they can in early game. You heard Ender talk about it at the end of that cast, but I think they've kind of stabilized it. They're not bleeding out, but they can't play the whole map to the same extent that Fnatic can. And what's curious to me about Fnatic is that, not curious, but kind of cool, is that even with a champion like Cassiopeia, they love to play Cassie inside lane. You saw the damage that Nemesis can do in duels. We know that Cassio is actually a great dueling champion, but because she has to overextend, you normally don't see her up there. And Fnatic are doing a good job constantly pairing her with champions that if people do go in on her, they have other tools that can follow up. And Splyce need to figure out some way to break this, because this is now the third time, I think, in a row that Fnatic have run Cassio's side lane into Splyce, where the map opens up and they can't do anything. And Nemesis is now 1v2ing for a portion of that game, and Splyce have no answer.
Yeah, they did it also in the regular season. That's why you say 3 times. Let's look at a replay, because it's not just the side lanes. When this Cassio gets to a team fight, it is also destructive. And Yamato, you were kind of surprised. You're like, why is this so strong? I believe this is the Garen Yuumi, though.
This is the Garen Yuumi?
Yeah, we're going to switch it up to Cassio in a second.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that maybe going Paytm and Vayne is not the best idea. I think if he goes Klepto, he can just like get so much free gold from Garen. Or even Lethal Tempo could be better. I think Paytm is good against maybe squishy champs, but...
I do agree. It felt like the sentiment was not only the condemn aspect of nature of that Vayne into Yuumi Garen to push them away from you, but also just he thought he was going to get a free lane, so why not double up with the Klepto? And there you go.
Right.
There we go. It's, when Cassio was picked, she saw Aatrox, Sylas, Lulu, and Vayne. Those are 4 picks that Cassio just devours.
Yeah.
Azir is a good one into Cassio because of the range disparity. We saw in lane phase that Cassio struggled a bit, but when you have a Yuumi on your side, you can kind of nullify that range advantage. He got a couple of kills, and Nemesis is proving to actually be a menace in the late game on Cassio.
Yeah, it felt like Splyce really honed in on trying to find kind of the favorable matchups, the Azir into Cassie, trying to use the unique pick of the Vayne into Garen Yuumi. But again, if you look at that holistic team comp, when are you ever going to be able to actually hit anyone as Vayne if you're running into the meat grinder of not only a Cassiopeia ultimate, but also the Yuumi ultimate on top of that? There was never going to be enough range outside of the Azir that Vayne was ever going to be able to hit anyone.
I have to sneeze. Could you continue talking?
Well, I will now play Shocks here. We're going to look at this nice replay, and yeah.
We saw this replay already, right? I wanted to point out, I think Sylas jungle is a big myth. I think the only thing that you gain out of it is the fact that, for example, in the series against you guys, it's like, okay.
Did you just say myth?
Yeah, it's a big myth. It's like people really want to play it in the jungle, but I think the biggest thing was in your series, it was a denial. Akali you got the LeBlanc Akali matchup, that's cool. Here we had Azir and Casio, that's cool. But Sylas jungle, in all of these games that we've seen, both Xerxes play it and also Broxah play it, it just kind of does nothing. And during this entire time, while Nocturne was bullying the Aatrox up top, Sylas was just trying to clear his first 3 camps, has to base, gets an item, clearing his camps. It takes just too much time, and I think in the pace that we're playing at, I think Sylas is just too slow, and it's just like you're doing it for the draft, but I think junglers are just too crucial and important right now.
Yeah, the games move so quickly, and I actually really love that we've now seen repeatedly this Nocturne picked into things like the Sylas, because Nocturne's just thinking like, I'm going to get a free pass to level 6. And yeah, Sylas can turn that ultimate and use it himself, but you're making a draft then collectively with the Nocturne. Gangplank Nocturne, Splyce used it yesterday, it got used today by Fnatic. You see how cool that is, because you don't even need kill lanes. Like, you have a Garen Yuumi in your bot side. You don't expect that to have any kill set up for you. It's all about the poke, but because you have GP ultimate and Nocturne ultimate, it doesn't matter. You can just layer those in 2 lanes, and any lane becomes a kill lane.
Yeah, it also looks like Fnatic is just too strong for Splyce at this moment. After break, we will cover the picks and bans, so we'll see what Splyce comes up with. But only 1 win is standing between Fnatic and a spot at the World's Group Stage as 2nd seed. We'll be doing picks and bans right here for Game 3, so don't go anywhere.
Gonna get cleared up. Whippo will eat the oranges and step back. 1 more auto will do it, but Broxah just flashes out of range.
They see Humanoid pushed all the way up that mid lane. Surely they can run down instead. Now Nemesis going deep down in that bottom lane. Turns around onto her top team.
Damage! He's gonna look for Cersei as well. Throws out the shield. Very highly recommended. As Nemesis flashes forward, gets the petrifying gaze. And Splyce are absolutely obliterated. All of a sudden, Humanoid is out. Cersei's in the pit, and Cersei's down. Baron is secured by the cat of Hylissang. Nemesis will go golden for now. The rest of Fnatic rock up, and they will take the series 2-0 for now, and are 1 win away from guaranteeing the group stage.
You don't have a chance against me. I can calculate 19 trillion moves in advance. Not fair. Not fair.
Red Bull gives you wings.
desk ahead of Game 3. Fnatic, they're looking unstoppable so far, and they have their eyes set on the world's group stage. We're back at the desk, and we're going to do picks and bans. You heard it. We are stepping up here at the desk with Mickey, with Yamato, and Frost. They're going to do some next level predicting. Okay, that's what I was promised.
Is that backstage, Mickey's like, I really want to do pick ban. And we got you your pick ban.
So this better be amazing. Also, you said it's going to be 3-1. Why is that?
So usually Fnatic is notorious to maybe go a bit overconfident after being 2-0. I was like, they might lose game 3. But also, Splyce has their whole like restaurant ready, so they're like really scaling for late game. But Fnatic didn't have like as much food ready, so they're like getting exhausted.
Yeah, they have like sandwiches from catering, while Splyce, and it needs some time to, you know, get in the bloodstream. For sure. But anyway, picks and bans in this all-important game 3.
So I don't expect the bans to change much here. The questions that I kind of want to pose to you guys is Chachi actually going to get GP, or are we going to continue to deny things like the Aatrox here? And are we? No, never mind. I was going to say, I'm going to say Yuumi 2.0.
I'm curious about the Fnatic Rakan ban, because I think it's just not good. Especially now, since they first banned Yuumi, they kind of showed their hand. Usually Rakan forces Yuumi ban. That's what you saw in Mickey's series. So
yeah. I mean, I think Splashes go ban Aatrox here. Like Akali Aatrox is pretty good bans, I think. I think for Fnatic, they might just stick with what worked. So I guess they might be ban Rakan again. But
what do you think that makes priority pick? Like if Splyce are Yuumi, Akali, Aatrox here, there's the Rakan ban you're talking about on blue side. Do you think priority pick is a Sylas?
I think maybe Sylas or GP, yeah.
I'm loving the gangplank.
GP is like kind of high priority against these two teams. Like
Zaya's also still up?
Yeah, I guess actually, yeah. They do like Zaya.
There we go.
So I think Splyce just goes for like Kai'Sa GP.
A few times.
There we go.
GP Kai'Sa could work here.
Yeah, Kai'Sa GP looks legit.
I mean, for how much we flamed not GP for Chachi in the last game, I think you guys want to see him on the Gangplank.
Yeah.
What are we looking for the second pick?
Sylas, please. Just look in the Sylas, don't need to look Kai'Sa. Okay.
Why do you advise against the Kai'Sa?
Because I think enemy showed the AD carry already, and they can pick the Sylas and just put him in.
They could take it away, but then also maybe they think Fnatic don't really play Sylas, or well, maybe game 1 they won, but you know that wasn't doing much. So I'm not even sure if Fnatic should pick Sylas here.
I also just think that Sylas' priority is low between both these teams because they don't seem as comfortable. Splyce, I don't think, seem as comfortable to flex it, and I think Fnatic realized.
I forgot about this one.
Yeah, TF is open. Hold up.
Changing the game. All right, how strong is Nemesis's TF, Mickey?
It's too strong. Honestly, it's a 3-0 go.
Change prediction already.
Yeah, I'm changing it.
What's so good about his TF?
I mean, he just like finds really good ult on side lanes. He sometimes even gives up priority mid, or some customers might call it cheat priority. Just go to side lane.
Thresh 3.
With the Leona, do you think it has to be Thresh here? Like, what if you're North Scarin, what are you trying to pick, knowing that they have Twisted Fate and Leona Zaya?
I mean, I think for North Scarin, I think you should go for Nautilus. I think it's like one of his best champs, or even a Braum could be fine. I think the Leona blind pick here is really bad. But I guess Shen is.
It's a secret
fine.
Twisted Fate counter that
actually Shen is a pretty good pick here, and they can also flex it. Chachi is notorious for his Shen. Then again, not sure if they can play GP mid. So
I'm loving your sound effects here, Yamato. What's going on? Not picked yet for Hilly this summer. I'm actually not sure.
I guess
but we're seeing it more.
Sylas, Azir. I think those were really good. Actually, maybe they should just ban Azir, Corki. Maybe those are the best champs for humanoid, and I think they're both pretty good against TF. Or maybe they think Corki not good against TF, so they maybe do than Azir.
Sylas is a pretty good one too, because you can match TF ult.
Oh, that's true.
Sylas with TF ult is much scarier than TF with TF ult.
Yeah.
Maybe they look to choke out Broxa. Already they took away the Nocturne. Definitely didn't want to deal with that. The Urgot from Guipo also off the table.
Yeah, nightmares from that one, from the last time they played.
I remember that. Remember, it's when we were saying there wasn't a big champion pool, and then all of a sudden Guipo was like, remember this guy? There we go. Jarvan ban as well. So
I think it's really easy to do Sejuani Corki here to round out the rest of Splyce's composition. It fits really well with trying to have a lot of semi-global or global presence to match the Twisted Fate. And as long as you play on Corki package window and try to follow the destiny with either Shen, GP ultimate, I think Splyce will probably do Sej Corki.
Okay, what are we looking for? We still don't have a jungler for Broxa as well as a top laner.
This is an elite game.
Lee Sin is open.
Lee Sin is open.
Or Ivern, I guess.
Ivern is open too.
I don't know about that.
All the sound effects.
I guess Leona Ivern could be decent, but
how does it work?
I mean, I guess Leona just goes in and Ivern shoots her, and she just kind of tanks the whole team.
Pretty foolproof.
But yeah, I don't see
Ivern against Xerxes though. Xerxes is the Ivern master, and Ivern you kind of need to be kind of cheeky, but I don't think Sejuani can really punish Ivern at all.
I guess. I mean,
I don't know. GP is pretty terrible, no?
Yeah, I don't see Owen being good here, but
I would have preferred Jax actually.
Well, I know. There we go. Vladimir top lane. What about this one?
I think Vladimir is something that's very underused into GP. We see it more in Korea, and it's a good counter because eventually you reach the point where you can dive and you scale better than GP because you need to itemize like Mortius. If they can snowball early, TF dive, it can get very, very rough.
I think also probably Splyce are gonna go for Corki, but I think they should.
Yasuo is locked in.
Actually, Yasuo is pretty good against TF. Maybe that's why they left TF open, because I want to
see a lot of
Yasuo. See how it works.
You now also have the ability to play side lane. So we talked about previously that Splyce were unable to match the side lane pressure. With Yasuo, he's a champion that can definitely play those side lanes when the map starts opening out, in tandem with the GP and Shen. So I like that Splyce have brought a lot of those answers that they were lacking in the first 2 games.
It's also very interesting to see here because always we saw this focus from Splyce on the bot lane. This time around, they need to force very hard on mid, because if you let TF get prio, your entire map is doomed. So this time around, we're going to see a lot of 2v2 on mid, and that's new for Splyce, so I'm excited.
And yeah, after seeing this draft phase, I'm sticking with a prediction, 3-1, Kentex win. I think they outdrafted them, and yeah, I think Leona's not a good champ, so I think it just loses the draft on its own.
Okay, there we go. Mickey X's wisdom says Leona is a bad pick, so you lose the draft automatically. Let's see if he's right or not. In any case, it's do or die for Splyce. Let's say, see rather, if they can stay in the series.
Very much, Sharks, and welcome back to the Caster Desk, where I'm joined by Ender for what could be the last game of LEC in 2019. Now, Mickey did change his prediction at least 3 times. That is the definition of a flip-flopper, and I don't know if I can trust him.
No, you can't, because he said both Fnatic and Splyce were going to win. So, I mean, he's right one way, he's wrong the other one. This is going to be a fun game here for Fnatic.
Well, we'll find out whether Fnatic 3-0 or not, or can Splyce push us to a game 4. In a League of Legends land. During the draft, Ender leaned over to me and started screaming during phase 2 that Irelia was going to be locked in. Now, while the Irelia was not locked in, the sentiment of Irelia being replaced by Yasuo was. Why did you feel that was going to happen for Humanoid?
Well, I think when you have a Sejuani in the jungle, you always want to look to have some sort of a melee mid laner that you can play around. So while the Corki was an option, I think that that's less exciting for Splyce to attack this mid lane. We also heard Yamato Cannon say on the desk, you want to shut down the global at its source. So I think it's just a much better option into the Twisted Fate. Now, in particular in this game, I actually really like the Yasuo, maybe even a little bit more than the Irelia. I think Irelia is much better at forcing team fights, but Yasuo's Windwall versus, you know, so many ranged characters on the other side, double marksman setup for Fnatic as well, is going to be very, very effective in front-to-back team fights for Splyce.
All right, so let's see how long it'll take to get there. My eyes are definitely going to be on Hylissang and how he plays on this Leona after Mickey's very strong words, saying not only is it a bad champ, it's an even worse one blind picked. And then secondarily, the combination with Ivern, I actually think there's a lot of very fun synergies there between the Leona, the Vladimir, to close that gap and get them stuck into those fights.
You know what this actually is? This is just misfits from 2017 Worlds, right? It's Ivern in the jungle while Ignar just wants to play Leona in the bottom lane because he doesn't want to build Ardent Sensor, so a little bit of throwback here.
And also, that year, Misfits were the 2nd seed going to Worlds, where Fnatic were the 3rd. So maybe it is a callback to that time. But for Splyce, of course, you know, do or die. Keep your chances of guaranteed groups alive by winning this game and forcing us to another game in the series, or you will be condemned to play in the play-in stage. Now, for Splyce, even getting to Worlds, huge success. They were the 3rd best team for the entirety of the summer split until they faced Rogue, and then they weren't. But for the most part, they have been consistent all split long. And we need to see if they can be competitive with Fnatic.
Yeah, and for Vizicachi as well, of course, to be able to make his first World Championship is going to be huge for him. Now, in particular, you say Splyce, you want to see them compete against Fnatic, right? Want to keep things competitive. Well, in this game, I do feel like they have some options, especially around this mid lane. Pre-level 6, try and find some moves up against Nemesis. But then once level 6s roll around is where the game actually gets really wacky, because this is Global City. Fnatic, they've got the Twist of Fate in the mid lane, while Splyce, they have the Cannon Barrage, they have the Stand United as well, sort of on split ends of the map. So if you consider it, Global's top lane, Global's bot lane, you can just attack that mid lane with both of them.
Yeah, you absolutely can. And of course, against a sort of skirmish-heavy playstyle like Fnatic's, having the Cannon Barrage, having the Stand United are going to be very crucial tools in keeping Splyce on an even keel as the game plays out. And Vladimir into GP is an old school pick. Both of them will be able to farm it pretty well. Neither of them really has much kill threat on the other, and they can just scale their way into the game nice and happy.
Yeah, I think the big win for Vladimir in this matchup, of course, is that, well, yes, he can get pushed in the early levels. This guy just scales to ridiculous amounts of damage, and he does it from range as well. You also can't forget that he amplifies the damage of all his allies when he hits those enemies with the Hemo Plague. So it means Reckless is going to be dealing more, Nemesis is going to be dealing more as well, and it sets up for this really strong all-in engage, I think, when you consider, the Solar Flare coming through from Hylissang, and then the Hemo Plague on top. That AoE is going to be deadly.
Yeah, it really, really will. If Splyce give them those opportunities. Last time, I kind of felt like Splyce were not great at picking their fights in Game 2. Didn't really have an answer to Brox's Nocturne or ways of getting themselves advantages. And obviously Nemesis on that Cassiopeia was a gigantic threat. So let's see what he can do on his signature pick. Didn't think we'd ever see Nemesis on Twisted Fate again this year. And this could be what sends Fnatic to the group stage.
Definitely could be. Xerxes waiting around this mid lane, trying to make a play on towards Nemesis, but Nemesis giving a lot of respect over. Xerxes also only level 3, so going for anything would be quite risky. Instead, now shifting his focus towards that bottom side of the map as Humanoid, without his jungle around, says now's the time to take the trade of all things.
Humanoid gets a knock-up. He's been pretty good with those wind walls. I've seen him block at least 2 gold cards while Hylissang finds his Zenith Blade. A lot of damage onto Norskeren. The body block from Xerxes. Not going to be enough just yet as Norskeren picks up the kill. Correction, Kobe does.
Norskeren loves to play with fire down here. I'm getting flashbacks to Game 1 when he went in and just traded his life to get a kill on the other side. But it will be Splyce leading the charge here. Now Broxa coming around on Chachi. Doesn't have a lot of damage followed up.
Ivern is such a goofy champion.
No, you got it right. Daisy's the real champion here.
Exactly. When Broxa steps in, misses the skill shot, Chachi's able to easily walk away. And Xerxes, much like Game 1 in the early stages, able to punish an aggressive engage from Fnatic's bottom.
All right, so let's see this. Norskeren chunked out a little bit, so Hylissang thinks he takes a really good trade because also Kobe's running away right now. I don't know if that's 200 IQ baiting in Fnatic's duo for this fight, or he was just not on the same page with the rest of his team because him leaving that fight almost meant that Norskeren went down.
Yeah, I actually thought Norskeren did go down until I looked at the kill feed and I was like, nope, you have misspoken, Mr. Henry. But again, Splyce pick up the first kill. A little bit of a trade between Hilly and Norskeren. Norskaren's trying to hold the wave for Kobe, who's making his way back down. He's running the cleanse this time around, as is Reckless. And when you see all of the CC available, makes a lot of sense. Going to be so crucial to dodge those big engage tools because both sides this time around have a lot of options to start fights, which we kind of really haven't seen that much of, or to this extent over the 2 previous games.
Yeah, it's that long-range, non-committal engage from a Leona as well as a Sejuani on the other side. This is going to be the move from Xerxes. He really wants to make this happen. As soon as you get Flash off of Nemesis, it becomes a whole lot easier to make plays. This down bottom lane, that's a really bad trade for Hylissang.
It really is. Brox is making his way in. He's buying some time. Defensive flash from Hilly, down to 150 HP. Survives just long enough, but Kobe gets the second. It is traded as Reckless takes him down.
Kobe not willing to run away from that one. No. He wanted to go all in right there. Doesn't have a teleport, instead with the cleanse, as you mentioned earlier, so he can't actually get down to this bottom lane to pick up the minions. So had he been able to get out, that surely would have been the better call.
Yeah, definitely the case. At least the kill was secured there by Reckless. Taking a look, no flashes in the bottom lane. There are some Hex flashes, of course, but it's going to be very juicy targets for either Broxa or Xerxes if they want to come down. Cannon Barrage has already been used as Chachi's been jumped on with the Hemo Plate. Transfusion's coming out, and Whippo wins out the trade for now. Flash was committed as well. Humanoid needs to find the knockup. No Cannon Barrage to back it out, and I don't think they really go for a tower dive yet. Transfusion plus Tides of Blood will easily clear this wave out.
Yeah, without minions there sooner for Humanoid to charge up the Tornado on, this dive was never going to be able to happen, even though Whippo didn't have those defensive spells to be able to respond towards anything. So instead, this long walk from Humanoid is actually going to sacrifice a lot of the lead he had in the mid lane, just in terms of CS. That full wave gets pushed in his bot lane.
Oh my word! Absolutely everything in the kitchen sink thrown at Kobe and Norskeren. The fade away auto secures the kill for Nemesis. Destiny, Gate, 2 kills.
That's what we're waiting for. Fnatic, whenever they go for the twist fade, it's always a dive on that bottom side of the map. Is Broxa also able to run in towards there, get the red buff for himself? Maybe Nemesis can walk up there and pick it up him for zone as well. But this is just everything going well for Fnatic after that initial play by Splyce down bot.
And also, there's not even a solar flare available here. So take a look at the minimap. Here's Nemesis coming in, and that's just Flash Xenoblade.
Yep, you take control of the bush with a control ward, so the enemies can't see that channel of the Hex Flash. And then all of a sudden, there's a twist fade right on top of you. No escape for either, as Nemesis picks up the last hit on the way out. And now you just wait for that cooldown to be up again. And even if you don't have it, well, there's a teleport ready.
Yeah.
So Nemesis can always respond to plays around the map.
Yep, and Hilly's going to get the solar flare, make it even more powerful. But when you see the Featherstorm combination, even without solar flare thrown on top of it, it is very difficult for Splyce if they get hit by a single piece of CC, because the follow-up practically guarantees a kill.
Yeah, it becomes really, really rough. And now this is where I'm like, Splyce, you have to make a play around the mid lane. It's been 9 minutes now. Xerxes level 6. Norskeren can look for a rotation over. You must do something because Nemesis doesn't have a flash. He went for the teleport too, so there's no cleanse to save him against the Sejuani. You must be more proactive. But with good vision around the mid lane, both top side and bottom of that mid lane, it makes it so impossible for Xerxes to actually get in there and find a play without being seen.
That's going to be even more difficult. You can see the gold lead starting to build up for Fnatic. They got themselves 2 or 3 plates there in the bottom lane. 10 minutes in, 1,200 gold up. Now Hilly and Broxa, they are at risk of being caught out. Hylissang's got his ultimate available, and if you look at the minimap, Reckless has now made his way up. No Destiny for Nemesis, but he's got the TP. Cannon Barrage is thrown down, and take a look at Hilly. He's going to go down. Humanoid picks it up. Defensive flash from Broxa, biting off more than they can chew.
Okay, Hylissang, that's your one for the series. We get it. We know what you're trying to do. Make the 1v9 plays. Will end up falling down right there. It wasn't necessarily a play around the mid lane there for Splyce, but Humanoid did find a kill, so that's the silver linings there for Splyce.
Yeah, definitely maybe underestimating the response from Splyce. Reckless under some threat of getting caught by the taunt. Flash available for Norskeren. Double pickaxes for Kobe at the time being. Broxa going a little bit fishing from the Raptor camp. I really like that engage potential or option, because of course with Ivan's kit you can just then hop over the wall even if you have no flash available. And here comes Daisy. Now Humanoid's running for his life. Go Daisy, go! Aww.
And he can't hit the control ward. How sad is that? Just sitting there doing nothing. Useless.
I love watching this champion.
At least Broxa has a friend.
Weird. It is so weird, but it is so fun to watch. And of course, if Daisy can get that knock-up in a team fight, it just adds to that AoE CC it's available to Fnatic, as the tower's completely conceded by Splyce.
Yeah, check out this bottom lane. Splyce reset, and they're not making any of the right moves right now, it feels like, because Kabe's clearing the Wolf camp coming down bot side to pick up the CS after the tower falls, so it's not even a Rift Herald reply on the other side of the map. Whippo's like, okay, now's the time where I can be ganked, push the wave, then back away, and Splyce have just completely dropped the ball here. Throughout the series, they've lost their bot lane tower, but often they've sent members to the top side to pick up the Herald. This time, absolutely nothing. They got caught flat-footed.
Yeah, it feels like Fnatic are properly warmed up now. Game 1 a little sloppy, game 2 a lot more clean. And despite Hilly being a little bit of Hilly, for the most part, Fnatic are doing very well here. 2,000 gold up, got a tower already. They've sort of unlocked the ability for Reckless and Hylissang now to move around the map. And with his Essence Reaver already completed, this is a terrifying combination when you think that Nemesis can join for any engages at a moment's notice.
Right, and just all the defensive tools for Reckless too, with his Cleanse, the Featherstorm, and Ivern right next to him as well. It becomes a lot harder to actually single out this target and knock him down, but I'm just waiting for Hylissang to jump in there. 1v3, here we go!
Oh, it's Kobe jumping in instead, and Whippo just gets blown up. Now, that's the engage that is available to both parties. Glacial Prison from Xerxes. combination with a long-range engage from Kobbe. Stand United wasn't even needed, but it was available if anything was going awry.
Right, and these are the plays we need to see Splyce continually make right here. They have long cooldowns that they rely on with Sejuani and the Gangplank to make these fights happen, but when they are up, they must be able to act more proactively than Fnatic. Otherwise, Fnatic are going to sort of have the run of the map around them.
And man, the mind games with the yellow card primed and Humanoid waiting to throw that wind wall up. There we go. Qualifier just gets caught out.
Where's the counterplay? Don't face check the bush. Yep. That's the counterplay.
Yep. Vizichachi did it before Baron in game 1. Quippo did it now, just before a little bit of siege there in the mid lane. Who picked up the kill? I think it was Kobbe. So he's 2-2-2 right now, down 30 CS roughly to Reckless, and he's going to be picking a fight very soon. Keep a look at the minimap as Brox is making his way up top. I'm just waiting for Hilly to throw out that solar flare.
So Humanoid was also, cheating up on the way to try and defend right here, but even if he shows up, Nemesis is going to easily be able to be there. Teleports on both top laners could respond in kind too, so looks like Fnatic will back away for now, but there's very likely a fight going to go on in the river.
Fight, fight, fight! Teleport coming in. Humanoid throws out the wind wall. Nemesis is waiting for the next engage. Solar flare's available for Hilly. He's looking for a target. Humanoid flashes defensively. Where does the ulti go? Destiny, it's a gold card. Wild cards with the solar flare. Now they've ran for the Stand United. But Hilly's under the tower. He's going to be the first to fall. The tower tags him up. Not just yet. Finally, it's a trade. 1-for-1. Mid for support, though. And now, all of a sudden, Kobbe's made his way in.
Yeah, Kobbe's late to get into this fight. Vizichachi also just threw down the cannon barrage, so no teleport. He's trading for plates down the bottom side. Well, Quippo goes deep.
Oh, he charged up the Tides of Blood. Wasn't able to find the target, though. Sanguine Pool buys some time. Cersei throws out the ultimate as a teleport is now sent down to the bottom lane. Vizichachi pops the barrel, but it won't find a target. With both Brox and Reckless will take the second tower of the game.
Fnatic with more teleports, more globals here in terms of the TF with the TP. After he goes back to base, he's able to respond and defend that bottom lane tower. So it is a trade up for Fnatic here as they secure that mid lane tower. And now it makes it so much easier to unlock the sides of the map. That top lane outer turret is still up for Splyce, but now the Nemesis can just freely clear away that minion wave and threaten the movement up towards top side so much easier. Well, Splyce probably gonna have to give that up in the next few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And that gold lead is squarely in the hands of Nemesis and Reckless, both of whom over 1,000 gold up over their opposing numbers. Whereas Vizichachi, on the other hand, is the only member that has more gold than his opponent right now.
So I do have some concerns about Splyce's team composition coming now in towards the mid game, because when you think about it, GP and Yasuo are both characters that want to be in side lanes, right? Not sitting mid lane and clearing those waves. Kaisa also not the strongest wave clear too. So she wants to be in a side lane too in the sense that she can force fights with her ultimate and play towards that angle, as opposed to when she's sitting mid lane, she's almost never going to be able to have priority over something like Xayah, who has that through damage and can easily clear the waves. So they must be able to force fights, and that's how they push the lead forward, because they don't just want to be sitting mid lane, they want to fight you when you come up to the wave.
Well, fortunately, there's a lot of tools in the Splyce kit to force fights. Now, there's a very good dash over the wall from Norscaron, despite getting caught by the Zenith Blade. No further follow-up from Fnatic. And the Rift Herald will be abandoned for now. Splyce were trying their hand. And of course, for Splyce now, they're in this deficit and looking to find those skirmishes.
Chachi has to be really careful. Right now, he's underneath the tower, but the rest of Fnatic is coming down. He doesn't have the damage to finish off Nemesis. Here comes the rest of the team. Reckless around the side. Hylissang too. Vizichachi is going to go down.
Yeah, he will. He secures the tower. He gets the Destiny out of Nemesis. And he's going to be buying some time while that's going on. Quippo is at threat of being dived in the top lane, as you can see in the minimap. That will be a kill secure here for Fnatic, and it should be donated. Oh, it's actually Hilly that picks up with the help of the tower. And while that was going on, Splyce abandoned the tower day of top.
This is what I don't really like from Splyce, though. They were looking for a dive onto a Vladimir. That's just not going to happen. Instead, they should have just immediately started up this Rift Herald. But because they delayed with Xerxes moving up towards topside, they actually can't go for the Herald. Yes, they get that mid lane tower, but Xerxes, dawdling between those two objectives ends up resulting in neither.
The thing is, net gain, though, with the tower mid, with the tower bottom, Splyce are closing that gold gap, and they are out trading in the skirmish, right? So they are doing the right calls. It's like you said, Ender, you wanted to see them be proactive. You wanted to see them make some plays. Vizichachi, pulling a Vizichachi in a side lane, conceding an isolated death, unlock those two towers, to be fair.
Right. I mean, I think that the play from Chachi wasn't necessarily poor, right? Getting that tower, as you mentioned. I think Splyce had an opportunity to actually seize a lot of control over this map, but now, all of a sudden, after the map has reset, and it's not Fnatic with so many members down bottom side, when it's neutral, Splyce are playing defense, right? All these side lanes getting pushed out from Fnatic, they're never past the point in the river. So they had this opportunity where they were trading pressure and ultimately didn't seize that opportunity.
Now, philosophically, Cloud Drake picked up by Fnatic, the next one's a Cloud as well. Coming up against a team with, multiple globals, do you like having two Clouds to position or reposition in lane a little quicker and, get around the map? What's your feeling?
I mean, I honestly just think Cloud Drake is really good regardless of your composition. I think just movement speed in general is so key because think about it, League of Legends is a game about time. The quicker you can rotate to a side lane collapse on someone, the better it's going to be. Ever since they made the change to give you movement speed while you're in combat too from that buff as well, it's been really strong. Maybe not, rivaling the Mountain Drake or the Infernal Drake, but those are powers you can see, right? You kill the Baron much faster, you feel that. The movement speed, it's more of an intangible. It's harder to recognize how powerful that can be, but the seconds add up.
I have one example. Nemesis playing against G2 during round 2 of the playoffs. If I recall correctly, Perks teleported up playing Mordekaiser, and after he TP'd up, Nemesis was there with the Destiny, and he sidestepped every single ability just with player skill. Now, give him more movement speed, and he's going to try to sidestep. Now, he got out of the Glacial Prison, but he did not get out of the last breath. He sidestepped the taunt, and that is movement speed proof in the making, and Daisy sends Norscarin packing.
Norscarin didn't want to go that deep, but once he did, there was no way to come out. Fnatic take the kill and the tower top lane.
It is so rare where you start talking about a really obscure point, and it happens during the obscure point. Now an engage onto Vizichachi. Hylissang's going to walk away for the time being. Cannon barrage! Not going to be enough to kill him. Throws out the barrels and will not be enough to even tag Reckless. But again, Nemesis, the sidesteps and the player movement is so key and important, and it kept him alive during that dive.
It did help, certainly right there. This is such a weird game, too, because it feels like both teams are playing around side lanes, while Splyce are just shoving down that mid lane. So they've got now that inner tower as well, virtually uncontested, because Fnatic were putting so much resources towards that top lane tower, defending down towards the bottom side as well. So this map is very lopsided in how it should be for this point in the game. And through all of this, Rift Herald has still stayed up. So it's not even like these teams have been prioritizing that objective throughout it. Really nice sidestep there from Nemesis, as he is known for. And realizes that Redemption coming down, he flashes out of it. He doesn't need it, Maybe could have helped use that, but now we gotta fight top lane.
We do indeed. 3 members of Fnatic with the help of Daisy against Xerxes and Humanoid. Humanoid flashes defensively, 150 HP left. He's alive for now. Chachi rocks up, throws down the power kick, and here comes Bubba from the side. Chemo Plague is thrown out. Xerxes will be taken down once that pops. Vizichachi escapes with his life. There was not enough damage.
Look at the follow.
Chachi until Nemesis arrives. He gets a double kill. 3-0-3. I have 3 votes for player of the series, and they are all for Nemesis.
I'm right there with you, Trev. Nemesis popping off in this series, and right on the 20-minute mark, that is when Fnatic decide to fight Splyce in that top lane river, and that is the same time the Baron spawns onto Rift. 3 games in a row, Fnatic have just completely blitzed through right around this time of the game. Gabe trying to come through from the steal, but it is Bwipo to finish it off in the end.
All right, I've just asked my stats team what the quickest Baron of the split has been. Maybe quickest Baron of the year as well. That was 20 minutes and 36-ish seconds. Fnatic are 5,000 gold up. They've got multiple completed items on their team. There's a Cloud Drake coming up in a minute. And again, it's just Nemesis is popping off.
All right, he gets engaged on at the start of this one, lands the stun on towards Humanoid, who then doesn't really get to participate in the team fight. His mouse is flying across the screen, guys. It's absolutely insane, but it's the gold cards from Giga Range right there. The rapid fire cannon to be able to continually catch off these members of Splyce, and then you realize, hey, there's a kill up there for me too.
Now, I think during game 2, we were talking a little bit about what we wanted to see from Splyce. I'll get to that in a moment. As the base is being sieged, Xerxes with Glacial Prison available will get spotted out. Nemesis has the gold card primed, waiting for a juicy target. In comes Chachi. Remember, he's already used that cannon barrage. The barrel's thrown out. That's the engage from Heli. That's a 2-man solar flare. The re-engage from Xerxes. The prison is down, but it's Splyce that are routed and running for their lives. Momentary pause as Reckless picks up the first of the fight. Nemesis taking a look for Norscarin as he escapes. There goes Daisy with the help of Broxton and Nemesis. They take down Norscarin. Now the base is the focus, and do they want to look for the finish already?
They absolutely do. All they've got to do is wait for the minions. The death timers are long here. 25 seconds on Humanoid, 20 on Norskeren. And now with the wave, this will be the last stand for Splyce. And I think Fnatic are looking to end it right here.
They absolutely are. Hylissang goes in with a Zenith Blade. And we'll be able to pick up a kill onto Xerxes before losing his life to the towers. Re-engage from Kobe. Bwipo goes golden for a little bit of time. Now he's taken out. The rest of Fnatic start to back away. Chachi and Gobi, they hold the base for now. And what I was trying to say before the engage started was we wanted to see Splyce be competitive. Not because it was going to tell us how they would do at Worlds. That's a month away on a different patch. It's to talk about what the maximum potential of teams are, to see how well can you run a gauntlet. And it is a difficult task for Splyce. 3 different teams, 3 different days. But they simply haven't been at a competitive level against Fnatic today.
No, Fnatic definitely look like the better team, as expected, of course. Unable to finish the game in this final push. There will be at least one more to come on after, but with 3 items complete on Reckless, 3 items on Broxa as well. They are looking primed and ready to finish this one up. You know, they only had to show up for the 1 series. They'd already qualified for Worlds, but they're making it look easy, Trev.
4 out of 5 members of this Fnatic squad are in the World Championship final. Nemesis had to replace Caps at the beginning of the year, and it was a dauntless task. And he has lived up to the expectation of his former mid laner, especially with the Summer Split playoffs.
And you remember how dire everything looked at the start of the Spring Split too?
We thought they weren't going to make playoffs.
Yeah, we thought this team was absolutely doomed. It wasn't necessarily Nemesis' fault, but like those shoes are so big that you have to fill right here. But Fnatic, after starting off 0-4 in the Spring Split, went on to make an impressive comeback and ultimately make a strong run in towards playoffs. And then in summer, they're almost uncontested for second the entire split. We thought maybe Splyce can topple them, but time after time, they've proved that they are the second best team in Europe.
Absolutely the case, and Splyce, 3rd best team, looking like the 3rd seed at Worlds. They will get engaged on, take out Hylissang for now, haven't yet lost a member. Finally, Norskeren goes down. The attention turns to Humanoid, who is popped like a balloon before Xerxes goes down as well. Nemesis flashes for the gold card, and Vizachachi continues to run for his life. He is taken out. Kobe, the franchise player of Splyce, is the last man standing, and Fnatic book their ticket to the group stage at Worlds, while Splyce are joining the players. This was the expected result for today. I think with the exception of game 1, the game's played out as expected. But I did not expect Splyce to be the 3rd seed representing Europe at the World Championship. It took a long time for me to buy into the Splyce hype. And just as I did, the Rogue series happened, and I went, I regret my choices. But seeing how they've adapted this weekend, seeing how they went from Friday to Saturday, there is some hope for Splyce, and they have the ability to surprise when they are the underdogs. Do traditionally perform better.
Yeah, you know, we saw that transformation, as you said, going from the full 5-game series in a messy series of events, and it all looked better. I think it sums up best. At the end of the game, Norskeren said, good luck at Worlds, and I say, good luck to all 10 players on the stage at Worlds.
This isn't something we've done a lot recently, but I'm a fan of the players giving us high fives here at the caster desk. Although I did just watch Hylissang and one of the content creators miss a high five.
What a disaster.
Mechanics as good as his Leona. Hey! Hey!
His Leona was sick. What are you talking about?
He can actually see me and shaking his head. My bad, dude. My bad. Look, Fnatic, they take the 2nd seed, and Splyce will be joining players. The group draw show will be taking place on Monday the 23rd. You'll see who the opponents for Splyce will be. And it is going to be a very, very interesting World Championship. All 3 teams with all European rosters. And for the first time in as many years as we've had Worlds, no new European representative.
Yeah, that is quite a change here for all our teams. But I think everyone will remember 2018 when Europe performed so well. You know, Fnatic making it to the finals, G2 a semis for themselves, Vitality surprising many and almost even making it out of that group of death right there. This year is a new one for Europe, but after winning at MSI with G2 and Fnatic putting up a strong performance against them in the finals, I think everyone must be excited about all three of our teams going into the World Championship. Now, you might be wondering where Quickshot just went because he was casting a second ago and now he's not. Now it's just me. He's on stage waiting for an interview, so we'll be getting to that in just a little bit. But in the meantime, I believe we do have some hype plays that we can be showing in just a few minutes here. In the meantime, you can vote for Kia Player of the Series at LOL Esports on Twitter. Your votes are Nemesis, Nemesis, and Nemesis. That's all you get. You can only vote Nemesis, but vote for one of them and we'll see what wins. You know, I'm sure one of them will because those are the three options and that's all you can do. But honestly, he had a fantastic series, 2 games on the Cassiopeia. Turns out Snake beats Snakes, and that's just how it goes. Now, as we close out the LEC 2019 season, let's get another look at the best moments from this week in our Alienware big plays. In Game 2 yesterday, Humanoid was everywhere with Akali, giving Schalke the assassin's mark.
Lead, but Splyce actually gained so much off these small sequence of events that have happened, and now Schalke are looking to fight, but they can't go for this.
As level 6, Kane just go right back in. He's going to finish off the support, goes right back in for Trek. He really wants another one. It looks like a double, but they are going to give the kill over to Kave. Now Upset is running for the hills. The Zap will not connect. They need to back off. The tongue lash is dive might come through. Cersei is very strong right now. He can't just walk under this tower. Ignar has to be careful with the hook. He does manage to connect on the Akali. That's going to be their ticket out of here. They need to get out to safety. Humanoid can go back in. North Karen is there to save the day if needed, but they're just going to walk in. It's a split fight. Humanoid going to fish for one. Going to look for a second one. Upset now running for his life. Humanoid trying to chase. He's going to get it. It is not even going to cost him his life. Are you kidding me? Double kill. Going down for
18-6.
Who gets aggro?
I think Karma might have TP. Not me. They got me. Oh. I can look to it.
Look Pandal. Can we kill Pandal?
Yeah, I will.
Look to eat me.
Get fucked. Did I hit someone? Nice, Mark. Woo! Let's fucking go, boys! Oh my god, it's so clean.
I guess Mark just one with you.
I was running between to see who I should eat.
Honestly, that just seemed mean. He never left the bottom lane, didn't give them a chance to bleed. Wow, a chance to survive. Anyways, against Nemesis, it was a different story as the Fnatic mid laner went in for the kill.
Came up a couple days ago and it started with Cassiopeia. Very highly recommended. As Nemesis flashes forward, gets the petrifying gaze, and Splyce are absolutely obliterated.
That's just a massacre in the mid lane.
I'm pushing the way for you.
Go! I see her.
Tipping.
What the
Main. She flashed already. Main flashed already. I silence her.
I died.
Oh. Yeah.
Can you calm down, Tim? They're families, okay?
So good. So
I don't have Nash, but we might be able to. I'll tank forever.
That was just a sick engage that got Fnatic their win in the second game there from Nemesis. Now, finally, Fnatic secured a group stage spot after a big team fight around Baron. Let's take another look. But now we gotta fight top lane.
We do indeed. 3 members of Fnatic with the help of Daisy against Cersei and Humanoid. Humanoid flashes defensively, 150 HP left. He's alive for now. Chachi rocks up, throws down the power kick, and here comes Bubba from the side. Chemo Plague is thrown out. Cersei will be taken down once that pops. Chachi escapes with his life. It was not enough damage.
Look at the follow.
Chachi until Nemesis arrives. He gets a double kill. 3-0-3. I have 3 votes for player of the series, and they are all for Nemesis.
Look at Yasuo.
I'm here mid, on this wave. They're fighting.
On me. No wind wall.
Just kill Yasuo.
Being on the pink here at the moment.
Kill Yasuo.
Okay,
I think it's a good fight. I'm on fight here. I need help maybe. I one shot.
You can't die, Huli.
Guys, I know. Chen or Taunt Ignite.
One HP on thingy. He wants to flash over.
I'm zoning these 2.
We can do that, by the way. Oh my gosh, here, boys. Don't worry, my team.
Just go Baron. I'm gonna give you a Q here too.
Wasn't that great? Let's see what Bwipo and Broxa have to say after securing EU's second seed at Worlds.
Thank you very much. I'm joined by Bwipo and Broxa, as well as Fnatic Ajana, as we round out the LEC Summer Split. Bwipo, just before we got the interview, you were talking a little bit about what it's like playing on stage and how it's different from Athens. Can you share with the world?
In general, I feel like the intensity just isn't there playing against a team like Splyce. Especially after G2, it was like a very intense best of 5. I feel like every single game I was trying, every minute, trying those C plays, trying to avoid plays, just trying to survive as well as thrive. Whereas in this game, especially the last game, the 4 minutes after Rift Herald spawned, so from 10 to 14 minutes, we were constantly calling, oh, they might be on Herald, they might be on Herald, they might be doing something. And well, every time they showed up on Vision doing absolutely nothing. So we were just, I was just sitting here being like,
It's not, it doesn't have that same focus as